souls, and welcome to our latest picker reading, Messages from Your Higher Self. Today, in real time, I apologize, by the way, it's nice weather, it's the weekend. I live on a very busy road, well, it's a freeway. So I feel like I'm apologizing for that a lot, but soon I won't be. But anyway, with that being said, I am feeling so many different things. And in real time, today is April 18th, 2026. Yesterday, the Aries moon came in. Thank you to the Pisces moon. Welcome to the Aries moon. And until tomorrow evening, actually, I'm on the West Coast. So until tomorrow, late afternoon, early evening, we will be in double Aries energy. Whenever you watch this, it's timeless, but the energy is quite intense. And I feel like it's interesting because we're in a double fire energy. And I feel like I've just been putting out fires left and right of my own and then like others. And it's just been really interesting. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Tallulah Wren. I'm the magical medium. And if you're coming back, welcome back. And always a nice big shout out to our all-stars. The all-stars, if you're new here, are those who have been with us for a long time or have been with me since I was on Instagram and came over here. And that was a very, very long time ago. Oh, this reading is one that I can feel is heavy on a lot of your hearts. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. And I want to start out with saying that you're not alone. And you are very loved. In this part of the episode, we're going to be talking about the energies that are happening at present right now. And then we will also be choosing the readings. We'll be picking the cards for the readings, and then we will go into the readings. So I'm not going to talk too long at the front here, but I do want to tell you that I'm really noticing how old patterns and old thought processes, you name it, they're so outdated and archaic. And the fifth dimensional energy, it's not that it can't hold it. It's just like, it's not interested. You know what I mean? It's like, it just repels it. It repels the third dimensional energy that's filled with fear or doubt or shame, like these old, archaic, outdated energies. That's why the past life wanted to come in. I'm not even sure how this is going to pan out. I actually thought I was going to do this reading a few days ago, and then yesterday I had plans with my partner to go on an adventure, and they just disappeared. I don't know if we had a lack of communication. I don't know if I have no idea. I've sent them messages, they haven't responded. So it's like either like we're good and we just had a miscommunication, which could totally make sense of all the crazy energies that were changing over yesterday. Not to mention celestially, how all of these celestial bodies, so many are in Aries, and Aries is such a powerful energy, and it's got a lot of good light energy, but the shadow of it is anger and resentment and mine and selfishness and war. So I'm just allowing things to unfold as they may. But it was quite the mirror for me, as someone had pointed out in one of the shorts. I was like, yes. I mean, it took me a minute to recalibrate, but it was really important that I witnessed it, that I saw it, because the way everything went down, it was like, oh, I heard drink some water, throat chakra, speak your truth. When I looked down, it was 454. So that's our angel number to work with. Like, that cough came out of nowhere. But not, you know what I mean? Because It's spirit talking to us and telling us to speak our truth, even when it hurts. And the long and short of it is, I, got up early. I, made all this food, and it was like this magical. I was so excited. I woke up thinking about us, and I was like, this is a new chapter for us. And I'm like, everything's awesome. And I'd left him a message. Like, we had talked about it, like earlier in the week, like we talked about it when I saw him. And so sometimes he forgets things, but I also realize like that also is like the mirror for him too, like selective memory. You know what I mean? Like, how can you forget something like that? Like, we've been planning it, we've been talking about it. So long story short, it was like it played out almost to the fucking like word and everything, the way this, because this has happened before, where everything is awesome, I'm really excited, everything's, whatever, and then he'll disappoint me. And then, sometimes he genuinely is like, I forgot. And I'm like, yeah, but if you forgot, that's insulting too. Like, how can you forget that? Like, how can you forget that? And, then I've said to him a million times, I'm like, then put reminders on your phone, you know? So I think that the controlling part of that, between both of us, we've both been fighting for control since we both met each other. We were two lone wolves who had no interest in getting together with another person unless it was like a really awesome person. And when we met, the things that we loved about each other are the things that repelled us away from each other. And the mirrors just got so big. But it was interesting because I'm so glad that they have voice notes now instead of voicemails, because sometimes I'll do a voice note and then um, I'll like let it lie for a while. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll send it and it was just timing for them, or spirit will have me delete it. And this was like one of those times where I was so grateful. I was so grateful that I put it out. I put it out into the voice note, how I was feeling. And then I like, was crying and I was upset. And then I let it go for a second, took in some deep breaths. And then spirit's like, I want you to listen to it before you send it. So I listened to it and I was like, oh my God. And it was so sad, because what I realized was, even though I felt disappointed, my father did that to me over and over and over. And lately I've been getting these things about your father, and your father is talking to you. And I've been seeing 228 everywhere, which was my dad's birthday, just like all the time. Like, I just look at the clock, it's 228. I'm in a reading. They're like, I don't know if 228 means anything, that kind of thing, and just really specific. And I was like, no, we're good, Dad. Like, we're cool. Like, I've worked through so many things with my family and my parents and my ancestors. Like, I've really worked through my past stuff. I mean, I've just gone through there with a fine tooth comb, at least so I thought. And then I realized, when I listened to it back, what broke my heart was, there was this song when I was younger, speaking of broken heart, when I was a teenager, and it was my first love, my first like boyfriend, and he was older than me. I was a freshman, he was a senior, and he was my first, you know what I mean? All the way around. And it was like that kind of thing, like, as Monica would say, I was going to give him my flower. I was one of those kids that probably should have been in the class with the other kids, but the way my birthday fell, I was, held back. And so it was like everybody had to start kindergarten when they were 5, like this number 5. Well, I turned 6 when we were in kindergarten, right? So freshman year, I was 14, but I turned 15 because my birthday's in December. So by May, we had met in the winter and we'd been dating and whatever. And it was, a different kind of relationship. But then when it started to turn into a very serious relationship, and his mom and dad, and, like, I would like meet them and spend time with them and all this, like, I was like, holy crap, like, I think this is the real deal. And I was like, this happens, people meet their high school sweethearts. My sister and her husband did. And I was like, we're going to get married. Like, I really thought he was the one, of course, he was my first sex, right? Like, of course, I thought he was the one. But I just remember listening to, like, when he broke up with me that summer before he went to college. Um, and my sweet little heart was broken. It was like going into sophomore year. I like didn't want to date. I didn't want to be around anybody. I was just like, I was like anti boys. Um, and long story short, I don't want to get into my whole high school life, but it has a huge impact on who I am today. And my parents divorced when I was 12. So having this great love, my first love, crush my heart like that was unbearable. And when I look back on that, it was like my dad would tell me he was gonna he was gonna be there. He'd be like, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna come pick you up. I'm like, okay. Because when my parents still lived together, even though my dad was like either at work or in a bar somewhere, or a club or whatever, doing his thing, playing music and drinking and partying and leaving my mom home alone with us, it was still like if I wanted to spend time with him, I would hear him come home sometimes late at night, and I would go and hang out with him. And my dad and I had a very different kind of relationship, and it was more of like a friendship, but in a cool way. Sometimes my dad would even like, come to like my room and be like, he would just like whisper through the door. He's like, "Are you awake, kid?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Shh, don't wake everybody up." And so I'd go down there and we'd talk, and he would talk about the music that, he played that night. And, we just like had this like cute little secret relationship. And it was very important to me. And so when my parents got divorced, I just knew, I had a feeling I wouldn't see him anymore. Oh, I'm starting to get emotional. And it's okay. It's okay. I'm a triple Sag, and my third Deacon's in Leo, my moon's in Scorpio. So I come by all this very honestly. um, but there were more times that we would plan and he wouldn't show up. And so I started to, I would hold hope, and it would break my mom's heart, like it would break mine too. And our relationship picked up again when I could drive, because then, if I wanted to see him, I always had to go to him. And it was a very unhealthy relationship. He became a parent when he was 17. And so, you know, he was in his 30s when my parents divorced. I was the last child. Drink some water. So I started to realize that my relationships really mimicked my relationship with my father. And I know it's textbook and all that, but like for real. And I really thought I'd healed through that. The disappointment, the not showing up, but whatever transpired between and my partner and I yesterday, like I still like their phone isn't on. I don't know what's going on. I can feel that I can tell that they're okay. Um, you know, it's like either they hit a wall and they got so overwhelmed and they just like shut down. And if that happened, it's like, I left, or I should say, I created a voice note, like airing all of my grievances, some with a cool head, some not. The fire energy got to me. And I just like was like burning up everything. Just like, I just felt so, is that eviscerized? Is that the word? Like, I just felt, I was like, I'm not invisible. And it was so powerful. And it was interesting because I was pulled to post a lot yesterday, but not to necessarily like look at stuff, you know? And the irony is, even though I made all that food, I was like, well, that's cool. At least I don't have to make any food for today or tomorrow. Cause I'm like, seriously, like everything's done. Everything's cut up, chopped up. You know what I mean? Like I've got fresh food. So that's lovely. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like that's really lovely. However, it made me realize that the things that I'm asking for are not overreaching, but at this point in time, he's not prepared for it. So when I was called to post something else, I saw that somebody commented and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry if I don't remember your handle," but they said something like, and thank you, it was so fucking awesome. They were like, basically, they were like, yeah, they just put a mirror in front of you. And I was like, yes. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I was like, yes. And it was so powerful, you know, going back to the basics. I mean, I've been talking about this since day one. We're all mirrors for each other. So I want you to start looking at your past and seeing how it's connecting, because clearly I need to work on this father wound, which makes sense because the divine masculine is what's like falling apart and shattering before our eyes right now. And the love, it's like, where did we lack? Where did we have lack? Was, you know, so in each reading, if you're here to watch as we pull the cards, I want you to, you know, really like connect with it. Is it like, because past life could be many lifetimes, like that you lived before this one and this avatar, but it also could be from this life and this avatar, right? Like I'm 54. That stuff happened with my dad over 40 years ago. That's a long time. But we're realizing now that time is a man-made construct, and it's just about like aging and wisdom and all this, and we're over the next like several decades, we're going to be peeling back all that stuff. That's why there's so many light workers that are out there now. That's why it's going so spiritual, because we are all going through this fucking past life healing, damaging. If you haven't seen, or excuse me, if you haven't listened to any of my latest podcasts, I really highly suggest that you do, but I'll put a link to the one that was the most powerful, where I had a past life experience roll over into this life. And it's like, that was like really opened the floodgates for me over this week to finally like close doors and, you know, stop old patterns, and you know that we're really stepping into a new chapter. So yesterday was, and right now, and until Taurus comes in, this is the only reason why. I mean, I asked Spirit a few weeks ago, because fire energy is usually really good for me, and when it's fire on fire, it's always really good for me. But I was a little disappointed when I saw, you know, that the Aries was only going to be here for a few days with the Aries moon. Drink some water, stay hydrated, they said. And some of you, it's like, I know it's really hard for you to speak your truth and speak up, but you need to. It's time. It's really time. But I started to recognize like why. And they said, because the energy is, this is such a massive transition astrologically. Like, we haven't seen some things in hundreds of years, thousands of years. Some things have never happened in any recorded human history that we're aware of. You know what I mean? So, and that's just dimensionally speaking, really, because we're seeing so many different things. It's unreal. We're seeing so many things at once right now. We're seeing like the dimensions are blurred. We're seeing that these, you know, made up worlds or feelings or whatever, it's like they weren't meant to stay with us forever. We're meant to work through it, heal through it, walk through the door, release and let go of the pain and suffering. That's what we're meant to do here. So, and from the past and from our past lives. So when I saw that, I realized that's what they were saying, because this energy is so intense right now that like we can't literally handle more than hours. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know how many hours it is, maybe 48 hours or something like, or I think it's a little more than that, but you know, we can't handle more, a bigger window. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we can't handle a bigger window than this. But I did have a feeling I was going to do a reading. I just didn't know how or what or when, but I didn't realize that I had to go through all that. But then that's when I realized too that Alder is my twin flame for real. He is my teacher as well. So no matter what happened, I'll find out eventually, you know, but like right now, I'm just like letting it lie. I'm letting it lie. I'm like, you know what, whatever it is, I know it just needs to like be calm. So whenever you watch this, I pray that it wasn't too difficult for you if it's after, if you watch it while it's during, because I know they're going to have me post this at some point in the next 24 hours. You know, that's why they had me put out like a little mini shorts reading yesterday about like your energy. And for some of my all-stars, you know, I sent you you know, a link, just a few of you, just because the rest of you, either you were meant to go through whatever, or like you didn't need it or whatever, because, you know, astrologically and, you know, from the zodiac and all that, and our houses and all that, like we're all made up differently. So for some people, they ride high in this energy. Some people like, holy shit, it's like awful. You know what I mean? It just really, really depends. So please feel free to share in the comments below your story or anything that happened to you. I sent a message to one of my soul sisters who's really fiery like me, and I'm not laughing that she got hurt, but it was just like we were laughing that we're like we just spoke like recently, and we knew this was coming, and it's like I'm like, did neither one of us like see or feel this, or did we just were we just unblissfully aware, like we just didn't want to like deal whatever. But anyway, she's away on business, and she said, you know, like she's like basically she's like, look what happened to me, and she sent me a message that she broke her toe in the hotel room and then proceeded to walk around on it. And then she sent me a picture of her foot. I was like, oh, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, dude, no. I'm like, oh no. But I had sent her that. I feel like, yeah, it was like one of those things where it's like, that would have been helpful yesterday, you know? But it wasn't, right? Because they needed it. I needed it. Like all of us needed a little mirror put in front of us yesterday, a little comeuppance. And I feel like whatever hit you or targeted you during this Aries time, during this like double Aries, like hot fudge energy, I don't know why I'm saying hot fudge Sundays. Maybe somebody needs a hot fudge Sunday. Anyway, you know, but if you're in this energy right now, or, you know, you look back on this, what was it that you like, what happened? Because whatever that is, that's your fucking mirror. And whether I like it or not, I have to remember to be grateful to Alder too, because whatever he's dealing with or going through, it's like, I think, you know, look at me, big boss applesauce, thinking I'm like, oh, I got my shit together. I got my shit together. We'll work on you, you know, because, you know, I'm fine. I'm good, right? Fucking ego. And then, I mean, even when I heard it back, like the things I heard back, but also I heard the sad, like broken child, you know what I mean? Like I heard this sad, broken little girl that was waiting for her dad, waiting for her dad, waiting for her dad, packed up, ready to go, you know, and he's just not fucking showing up for her. He's not being the man he should be. And the saddest part is, you know, but the sad but happy part is when my dad confessed, he like did this whole confessional thing when he got sober a few different times. And one of the last times was so real and so sincere, because I stopped talking to him for 5 years, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Because then the other thing that sucked was when he did want to talk to, or when he did like reach out to talk to me, he was usually trying to fish for gossip, or he was trying to fish for like to find out where my mom was, or like when my sister cut him off, he was always like obsessed. He was always obsessed with, you know, because that's what narcissists do, right? So both of my parents were very narcissistic, but in completely different ways. And you know, narcissism is a learned behavior, and my partner, same thing. Both of his parents were narcissists in different ways. Both of our parents were extremely abusive. That's why we became lone wolves, because we felt better alone. But when we spent all these years together, we started to realize that that's just a lonely existence, you know. And in recent weeks, we've been trying to figure out how to come back together, but haven't been able to 100% figure out why. Or not, well, we know why, excuse me, but Freudian slip, right? Well, maybe we do need to still figure out why, because we have moments where I can tell he's not 100% convinced that we're meant to move forward together, and neither am I. Clearly after yesterday, because when I listened to the message back, I was like, you know, that I'm done. I mean it. I'm tired of this. I deserve better. And it's like, yeah. So it was me saying to me, I'm done with this pattern. I'm done with this behavior. And for myself and him. And it also made me realize that this is, we're going to have to work on it together. Go apart, have our own thoughts and whatever, and then work on it together. Go apart, work together, go apart, work together. And that's what works for us right now. But I just want you to look at your life, and I want you to look at your relationships, and connect you to them, right? Like you're the common denominator in this story. You're the hero of your story. You're the star of your story. So when we're pulling these cards, I want you to connect with what is, energetically, like use your intuition, take in some deep breaths. Whatever feels good to you. Some people like to just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. What feels good? Oh my gosh, a card flew out on top. I feel like this is a message for all of us to connect with nature. That's how we heal. That's why I was so devastated yesterday, because I had everything packed up to go have a fire up on the mountain in our favorite spot, like packed up all this food. And I even said in the message, like the old days. But I didn't mean it like that. I meant like, but maybe maybe I didn't need to say that. So, and maybe there's something I'm still longing for. That daddy, that divine masculine. Why don't you want to hang out with me? Why don't you want to be with me? And then looking at the pattern of the men in my life that has happened. But a lot of them, when they started out, what they loved about me was my strength and my independence. And then over time, I don't mean to, but over time, slowly, I become more like, we are one, and like, don't you want to be with me? And it's like, and I remember a few of my exes that became friends. I had this one ex one time, and we were hanging out, and he's like, God, you are so fucking hot. You're so gorgeous. And I was like, well, thanks. And I was like, well, you didn't seem to think so. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you right now. He's like, it was never, he's like, I think you're beautiful and smart and sexy and all these things. And he's like, but at the same time, he's like, what drew me to you was that you were so independent and not needy. He's like, when you got needy, he's like, it was just such a turnoff, because it felt like it wasn't you. So yesterday made me realize, like, this thing with my dad, it's like my dad and that divine masculine has been breaking my spirit for decades, and not realizing that has been the basis of my connection with myself, but not realizing that that's what it was. Do you know what I mean? So, and even as I'm talking to you, I'm having even more revelations while I'm sharing this with you. And they're having me share my private stories with you so that you can look at your own and see like what's connecting for you. And for some of you, it could be the divine masculine. So they want us as a collective just to get closer and more connected with the trees right now, because the trees and the forest, like, they're calling to us. They want us there. And when we're there, we forget about all that other stuff. And right now, social media and, like, the shadows and the forces that be that want to keep making money off of us, like, they're realizing, like, as a collective, we're getting more, and we are more intelligent, we are more spiritually aware, we are more aware in general. And the more aware we become, the more we're like, we don't need your shit. And you know what's really interesting, you guys? I've been thinking about this. You know how people like started like prepping and hoarding and things like that? I feel like even that's like a big part of it too, right? Because if, the smugness of these corporations is that they're like, well, they need us, like, they need us, they want us, like, they really need us, blah, blah, blah. And I've been noticing that a lot of these like shitty food companies, like these old companies that I like, Little Debbie and like, Mars and like some other ones, like, they're going back, like they keep trying to like pull people back, because they're seeing that people are really trying to eat healthier. They are trying to, take better care of themselves, like, genuinely. And so they're like, shit, what are we going to do? Like, we have to, like, what are we going to do? They'd have to change they'd have to do a whole revamp, a whole rehaul. And not only that, they wouldn't be able to charge the prices that they do, because they're putting shit in there. It's not food at all. It's like some fucking creepy form of food that, isn't really food. And I noticed that, there was this advertising everywhere for Little Debbie right now, that they put out a new item, these old-fashioned donuts, and like I think they have like the regular kind and then chocolate, which of course, like when you're a kid, right, and especially for myself, I'm 54, like crullers and like all that, and like those kind of donuts, they're so fucking unhealthy. They're just like pure sugar, and they're not good for you, and they're like, you know, like gluten or like bleached flour, and like it's just so fucking bad for our organs and for our body. So it's like they're literally pulling out the stops everywhere to I feel like one of you are like, that sounds good. It does sound good, right? Because, and for some people it brings us back to like some place. By the way, whoever's scrying right now, I'm totally with you. I feel like somebody is like really hardcore scrying, totally on back here. If you don't know, scrying is like when you see pictures and things, and whatever you see, feel free to comment below, because I'm seeing so many different things right now. I've took so many fire videos lately, so we're gonna be doing a lot of fire scrying over this this moon in Aries. And also we just had a complete like goodbye 2025, goodbye, you know, because now we've completely gone, once we get to the zodiac new year Aries, it's like it comes through, but then we still always have like that last moon cycle in the last, you know, of the year. So Pisces is, you know, the 12th house, and so now Aries is the first house. It's about new beginnings, and I feel like that's exactly what's happening right now. It's like now that we've shut that door, we had this, you know, small window of us to like really show the universe. Ooh, somebody, water, drink some water. What's going on? Somebody doesn't want to speak their truth right now. You're having a hard time. Oh man, I feel for you right now. Oh, they just told me, because I was like, I was starting to shuffle. Okay, they're saying, hold on. But now it's like, this is like the real like kickstart, restart, and like we're in the fifth dimensional energy. We're just going to watch the old worlds crumble around us. We're going to watch these companies fail. We're going to watch it all happen right in front of our eyes. And so the reason why, if you found yourself here and on this channel and connected to me, is that you are finally like ready to step into your role as a leader, as a teacher, you know, even if you're just an example, you know, for others, like you have your own business or whatever and may not be spiritually inclined, but like you are, excuse me, you are spiritually inclined. And I almost feel like this is going in, let me ask. Okay. There's like so much is coming through. Yeah, there's a lot of, I'm also getting these because there's a lot of energies and entities that want to channel right now. And so when I'm clearing my throat too, I'm kind of like pushing them back and saying like, we're not ready for you yet. Like your reading's not here yet. Because I feel like some ancestors are going to be coming through to talk to you guys. So basically, yeah, I just got the chills. That's what it is. I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm feeling like this antsy in my pantsy. Like, I'm like where someone's like, come on, I just want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, we will. I'm like, or it could even be for you guys. And if that's the case, you know, go to the description box and go to the timestamps. But, you know, if you're feeling that too, it could be maybe you're meant to hear this message. You have to listen to this message right now because, you know, when I look down, it was 3330, which is 3333. So we'll work with angel number 333 as well, 3330, and also the number 9. And for some of you, you're so close, and for a lot of us, like we're so close, and they don't want us to give up. And you know, I feel like these messages are really going to help you to recognize and see like what's happening in the patterns and like how you can change. And for some of you, like, you know, if you're refusing to change certain parts of your life, maybe this will at least give you some insight into changing yourself. So once you start to change, the other people around you may start to change. But remember, you know, it's like we may be feeling and voicing the Holy Spirit, so to speak, but like we are not that. And so remember that every person that's in our life has their own story, their own path, and their own purpose. So the controlling thing is, it's a big one. And I know that that's been a big one for empaths for a long time, and the sensitives, because we've had to control ourselves and our environment, because knowing that we were very different and that our needs were different and a lot of times weren't met. So with that being said, I'm going to pull, we're going to have a face card for each reading, and then we'll be working with the Star Spinner Tarot as like, you know, the extra messages that need to come through for each individualized reading. All right, you guys, I didn't realize we were going to do that much today, but you get it. I mean, there's a lot going on and we know it and we see it and we feel it. And it's going to take a minute for, you know, it took thousands of years to build this empire, you know, these gross, you know, energies that we co-created and collectively allowed it to happen. And now people are seeing just like the bluntness, the grossness, the like that just in your face. I'm going to do what I fucking want. I don't care what you think or say. Nobody's going to stop me. That is like what is really waking people up right now, because it's like, especially like, you know, shows like the book that turned into a show, Handmaid's Tale. I mean, you know, women are like, oh, hell fucking no, like that ain't gonna happen. Nope, ain't gonna happen. So, you know, there are so many things that are happening underneath the surface that we don't even know about that were put in place for that. So Spirit's been saying like, have some faith, believe. I also was feeling like these kind of straight lines here. I didn't even realize it until just now, just how they were kind of look like almost like straight lines. Do you see that? And all that fiery energy. And I love how they had me bring in the fossil for the past, but like all this fiery energy. And then it's almost like the third dimensional energy and the fifth dimensional energy. When I was setting it up, I did feel that, but I didn't like really notice the line part until that's pretty wild. I was like, because I went to move this and they were like, I want you to show that first. I'm like, okay, they're just having me move some stuff around. You want that there? Oh yeah, because this is amethyst. We'll set the amethyst healing energy towards us and bring in the light. Okay. All right, Spirit, you ready? Okay, so reading one messages, reading one. I feel like the amethyst wants to come in more too. Okay, what's the main face card for reading one at this time, Spirit? What's the main card? And if there's more than one, we'll take it. Oh, reading one, authority figures. That can mean many things, by the way. Okay, do we have any more for reading one? Okay. Any more for reading one? Okay. Now, reading two, reading two, reading two, reading two, reading two. Reading two, Spirit. What's our main subject for reading two? Oh, food and hunger. This has come up many times before. Oh my gosh, you guys. I feel like it feels like that kind of cough that you hear when someone's like dying. So I feel like there's like, it could even be for some of you, like maybe you're, it's like, oh, I found her business card yesterday. One of the first healers I worked with, she, when I went to see her, I told her that, or she came to see me, but either way, I told her that I was depressed and I wanted to die and all these things. And she was like, oh, good. And I'm like, good. I just told you that I want to like unlive myself. And she said, yeah, but that's good, because that means that there's a part of you that's ready to die. There's a part of you that's ready to let go. And she's like, let's focus on that. Let's work on that. And she ended up pulling like so many entities out of me. And I felt them like clawing, like literally, like I felt them like they're like hooks in me that they didn't want to get out. And she was such a powerful healer. And she pulled like 8, I think, out of me in our first session. Things I didn't even realize that had clung on to me. Demons, darkness, like just crazy fucking shit. So it could be something that you guys are going through too, that some part of you needs to die, you know, that you've picked up. Oh, number 3, reading 3, knighthood. Oh, this makes so much sense. Every time I see swords, I also think of air signs. So this could be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And I don't know, are we going to do a reading 4? Okay. I wondered when they said they wanted to go vertical today. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. Like, you know, because I'm like, I just know that the way that my setup is, I can only go so far back to like, you know, pull it all in. So interesting. Okay. So you guys, these are our readings. Reading 1, reading 2, and reading 3. Also, my homemade jewelry, like my ring that I made, but this button's like from the Victorian era, and this also vintage ring from like I think the 50s or 60s. Wanted to come in, and this one I made with this button, but this was gifted to me by a really powerful witchy healer. So Anyway, are you ready? Are you ready for it? Ching, ching, ching. Let me see if we have, do you have any more messages before we go into the readings? Nope, that's it. Also, for those of you, if you can hear the ching ching in the background, look what Alder found. My grandma's necklace. But it was like she didn't want me to, like, it's like I needed a break from it. And it was really interesting too, because he didn't even tell me about it. I come home, I'm like unpacking, I'm doing stuff, and it's just sitting there on top of my stuff next to, like, my stuff, just. And I was like, you found my pendulum. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, the things that, like, to him, that's not important. Now, does that make him an asshole? No. But I'll tell you what, yesterday I was like having all these things where I was like, because I grew up with like when my dad wouldn't show up, my mom's like, what a fucking asshole. Can't show up for your daughter. That's your dad. Yeah, you want to have him. You care so much about him, and he's such an asshole, blah, blah. That's why I call my stepdad dad too, because like TOO, like also, because it was interesting. It was like he became the dad that I always wanted. And that's why I started calling him dad, because it felt weird to call him by his name. And I'd known him since I was a little girl. He was my dad's best friend, by the way. But I really don't think any real hanky-panky happened with my mom and my stepdad. But my dad was cheating on my mom. And it was just like an icky thing. They were 17 and 18. They got pregnant. Their parents, made them get married. It was the 60s. And so, by the time the 80s came around, it was like they were just done. They loved each other. I really do think they loved and respected each other as much as they each were capable of. But I also think that, at the end of the day, it's like now they're all gone. All my parents and my step parents are all deceased. And I have conversations with them sometimes. And recently I said, something like, why couldn't you have just been my dad instead of my dad be my dad? And they were like, you got two for the price of one. They were like, there was too much you for just one dad, but I really thought he had helped heal that wound. But he didn't really, because I needed to heal that wound through myself. And I was trying to heal that wound through every man that had come into my life. So, I don't know if these are going to be divine masculine driven, or if this is just like I'm sharing my story. But I guess we'll see. So without further ado, I will see you over at your reading. And if you'd like to work with me further than this channel, you can reach out magicalmedium@gmail.com. It's in the description box. All you have to do is highlight it, copy, and then paste it into your email, and it'll make its way to me. And I do check my spam every so often just to make sure. So if it doesn't reach me, I always say, like, there's a reason why. But if not, I will get back to you as soon as I am online and receive it, and we can set up some time. And I do work on a sliding scale, and I am open to whatever spirit wants us to do, whether it's over the phone or Zoom or a video. But yeah, and individuals, couples, groups, whatever. And because I'm a telepathic medium, I can really, and I have all the clairs. I actually, like, all the gifts I have, I just channel the gift, if that makes sense. Like, I'm like a pure channel. So it's like, I realized lately that it's like when people are like, how come you don't know things? Or how come, I'm like, because I know what they want me to know. If they don't want me to know, I don't know. Now, if somebody's really open and they're like not grounded or whatever, which is why it's difficult sometimes more than others to go into stores, and I rely on my pendulum, because it's, no matter how powerful or grounded I am, once I get in there, it's kind of like if someone is putting on like 15 radio stations or maybe 30 radio stations all at once blaring at the same time, anybody would feel scattered, and it like really mixes, and not to mention the energy that retains in the store as well. It's not like they're going around smudging the stores every day. You know what I mean? So little fairies like myself, I go through the stores and bring good energy and all that, but it's like at the same time, it's public domain. So yeah, so I'll see you over at your reading. Until next time, take good care of yourselves and each other. If you're not staying for the picker reading, if not, go into the description box and you'll see the timestamps for reading 1, reading 2, or reading 3. I am actually going to put this on mute. I'm recording it in live mode. I could actually clean out my phone. I feel like they want the readings in live mode right now, which is kind of interesting. I actually went live with readings the last reading, and no one showed up, or at least not that I could see. If they were in incognito or they're not subscribed or whatever, like they may have been there, but like I felt people there, but I always, like, right now I feel you guys here and it's unlisted. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going live right now. And it was so funny. I was like, do you want me to go live today? They're like, so it was like kind of a ha ha ha, like, you know, like, no. And I was like, well, I didn't think so, you know, but because there is a difference for sure. You know, this, I'm in a protected container, even though it's like connecting to YouTube right now and it's quote unquote live. I'm still like in a very protected container. And when I go live, I'm in a protected container, of course, but same thing. It's like the grocery store, like times a gazillion, right? Because we're like in the wild web of, like, you know, the internet's like the wild west of like our consciousness. So it's kind of like this crazy, you know, I mean, well, that's funny, Spirit. I never thought of it that way, but that makes a lot of fucking sense. Oh my gosh, we have to start using that, you guys. That's so awesome. It's the internet is the wild west of our consciousness. Ah, I love it so much. I wonder if somebody else must have said that and I picked it up from the collective. But either way, I love you so much. I'll see you over at your reading. I'm going to put it on mute and you'll see me doing stuff. But if you don't want to sit around and watch me, you know, do stuff, if you're for reading one, just go to the description box and click the timestamp and I'll see you over there. All right. I'll see you soon. Love you. Bye. Welcome, reading one. I used to float, now I just fall down. I used to know, but now I'm unsure now, or something. What I was made for, what was I made for? Okay, that song started playing hardcore the second I started getting ready to open the portal for reading one. It felt very dramatic and it felt sad. And I rarely read from the book, but, and we're going to take it with a grain of salt because as much as I love this past life deck, it has so much goodness in it, but the translations are not always the way I see things or feel like spirit sees things, if that means anything. So I may change the languaging during it, but let me just get in here and see what it says. Also, it's on page 21, and I feel like that's powerful because I feel like for some of you, like, I feel like that means something. Maybe you've had a problem with authority figures since you were a young person. It says, in your previous and current lifetimes, you followed rules that were set down by authority figures such as parents and teachers. You may have also encountered intimidating or even cruel authority figures in the past. Perhaps you found yourself in the presence of those who were power hungry or abusive. These situations can lead you to fear authority figures and succumb to their will in the present. While it's normal to sometimes be intimidated by powerful individuals, fearing authority figures can lead to unhealthy passivity. For example, you may feel pressured to bow to another's rules without standing up for your rights, or you may develop quote unquote conflict phobias in which you negate your own needs in order to avoid arguments and disharmony. In some cases, this can lead to a form of depression called learned helplessness, in which you don't even try to improve your life. To heal this situation, fill yourself with self-love and self-esteem and see yourself as being whole and healed. Oftentimes, just remembering past life details will lead to clearing and healing. And it's on page 22. So I feel like 222, or maybe you see 22 a lot, or 2222. I just got the chills. Maybe you were like, is this my sign? Also, I've been getting like these throat chakra things, like during, if you didn't watch the beginning, I highly recommend you go back and watch it. We pulled cards for this reading, but also Spirit had me share like some stories about some intense things that I'm going through, but then also we spoke astrologically, about like what's happening right now on the planet. So whenever you watch this, it's always timeless, but if you're watching it within the window of the double Aries energy, it could be that a lot of this is coming up for you because it's time to look at it and it's time to face it. So let's see if we have any more past life cards that want to come out. I know we have the Star Spinner Tarot as well. It's one of my favorite decks I've ever owned. It's just such a beautiful, magical deck. So I'm kind of also, I'm just going to put this out there. They're having me put it out there, so I don't know if I'll do it with every reading, but they're asking me to speak about that this particular deck, this Star Spinner Tarot deck, if you're looking for an LGBTQ friendly deck, this is it. In fact, the Lovers card, they have more than one card because they want to represent all the different, forms of relationships so that people, because we've had a lot of programming of like what's right, what's wrong, so it could even be that in these readings today that we have some of our tribe members who are either questioning their sexuality. Maybe you're 21, 22, you found yourself here. You're questioning your identity or all of the above. Maybe you had authority figures that didn't allow you to be yourself and that respect. I just want to put that out there because I do feel that energy from this deck, but I didn't feel it. I felt it a little bit when I was putting this together at the very beginning, but I didn't feel it at all during the group reading, but I'm feeling it here right now. So it could even have been that this was for you, you know what I mean? Whoever, and it could just be one person. Also, I think I over shuffled because I was like, I felt like I had the card. Okay. So we have the 10 of Swords. And I mean, look at that. Look at that. It's like they killed these authority figures, killed like, look at you. You're a beautiful peacock. And I heard for some of you, it's jealousy. You have really, really jealous parents, or jealous significant other, or, you know, there's a lot of jealousy that I'm feeling around this. And I don't use that word lightly or often because, you know, it denotes coveting and, you know, in the magical world. And it's like coveting and being envious of others is actually such a dark form of the shadow, because we should be grateful and revere and uplift others, right? Like we don't want to, you know, we don't want to steal away from them what they have. And not only that, but it's like there's billions of us and we are all learning different things and doing different things all at the same time on this planet, you know. So comparing ourselves, I saw something one time and it just resurfaced again, and it said something like the fastest way to destroy something is to compare it to something else. And I feel like that message was definitely for somebody. Also, you guys, I just noticed that some of the pages had fallen out of the book. And look at one of the ones that fell out of the book is the 10 of Wands. So I don't know if that means anything. I just felt like somebody needed to see that. And also these, speaking of, these are the different forms of the Lovers cards. So I feel like maybe somebody needed, is that right? Or am I looking at the wrong thing? I don't have my glasses on. Oh no, I don't know what that is. I thought it was, or maybe it is. Oh, it is. It is. Sorry. For a minute, I thought this was a bunch of people in a crowd. But see, even like the Lover's card, that it could be you, you know, like just loving yourself. So let's go to the 10 of Swords. I love this book. I love to read tarot, but I would never say I'm a tarot reader. You know what I mean? And I tend to read all decks, tarot or otherwise, in the way that I see them, you know? So I remember when I was studying to be a medium, and my roommate, who became one of my best friends, she was doing a reading for me, and long story short, she was like, what do you see? You know, she was kind of like testing me kind of thing. And I told her what I saw, and she's like, yeah, no. So see, this card means this and this card means that. And I was like, yeah, but I don't see that. I see what you're saying. I'm like, but this is what I see in the cards. And it was interesting because that was the first time that I realized that, like, even a friend of mine who was authority figure, or somebody who was more versed on this subject than I was wrong. She was absolutely fucking wrong. And, you know, years later, we like talked about that, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, that's when, because, you know, it's ego, because she had learned it before me, and she was like really studying it. She wasn't just studying it, she was like, she was an artist and a painter, and she started painting the tarot, and she was like, I'm gonna do a whole series. I'm like, dude, that's a lot of paintings, you know. She's like, yeah, but I feel drawn to it. And I think she got through like 25 or 30 of them, and then she was just like, yeah, I'm kind of over it now, because she did it over years, you know. But anyway, super gifted, magical creature. But the more they explored it in that way, even they were like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's so much more meaning to a card than just what somebody is telling you it should be. So I feel like this could be also for somebody that this isn't a romantic relationship. Maybe you're struggling right now with a past life, or like something where, like, you know something in your gut, but somebody's telling you it's wrong. Go with your gut. That's what I say. Go with your intuition. Because even if you are quote unquote wrong, you're not. Because right at that time, you really genuinely believe you're right. Like, she genuinely believed that she was correct, and she was in her level of consciousness. But that's the whole point. You know, we're always moving up and down the ladders of consciousness, and understanding, you know, and going back to retrace our steps and see what we missed. That's why this past life deck wanted to come in. And I mean, I was very surprised that Spirit like paired these two together. I was like, this is an interesting pairing. So I feel like that message is for somebody as well. And because I feel like there's messages in both. I always read the upright and the reverse, but I tend to start with the one that it was in, and it was in upright. So let's start there. The Ten of Swords represents a painful conclusion. This card indicates a harsh defeat. You were set up for failure, yet you continually toiled in futility. Your most trusted sources of motivation and encouragement have failed you, and you cannot see any way to salvage this loss. All that is left is to start over. It's time to accept this reality and be ready to move on. So this is very interesting. I feel like this has a lot of meaning for all of you guys. Oh my gosh, I just turned the book upside down when I saw reverse. I love myself. It's hilarious. Okay, sorry, not to make light of what you're going through, but maybe we needed a little levity there. So in the reverse position, it says you are in a bad situation. So this is what I feel like you're in and what you're getting out of, if that makes any sense, you know, because I kind of feel like the authority figures is your past, like, since it's a past life deck, and this is like your present. So it says you're in a bad situation, but your fear of change is stronger than your willingness to solve the problem at hand. Instead of doing the difficult work of confronting your fears, you let it drag on endlessly. The Ten of Swords encourages you to find release from this cycle of guilt and fear of change. It is time to move on and let go of the things that do not serve your long-term growth. It's also on page 103. And so for my witches, you know, anytime I see any type of in Divine Feminine, is that 103? Yeah, just wanted to confirm. Sometimes the numbers, you know, are fancy. But if you, so look, work with angel number 103, but then also work with 13. You may even want to work with 10, since it's like the 10 of Swords. But 13 is the number of the Divine Feminine, and I'm hearing, oh, when I look down, it was 102, 13. What? Which, if you take out the zeros, my birthday, 12, 13. Oh, I had a few moments myself in this too, right? Like when I'm doing readings for you guys, I'm not above it. I have my moments too where I'm like, right, the aha moment that you needed, the mirror that needed to be placed. So, yeah, I definitely feel that it's time. And you know it, and you have to make like major changes. These aren't just little changes. These aren't baby changes. These are big, 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 big changes. No more past life cards. Let's see if we have any more tarot that want to speak with you today. Do we have any more tarot? No, you know, I have to say, I definitely saw it at least for one reading. I don't know if every reading's going to be like this, but I definitely, like, when I saw the two decks together, I'm like, is this kind of like the past and this is like the present / future, or like, and that's what I kind of feel like that is. I feel like once you let go of this energy, and it's going to be different for all of you guys. For some of you guys, it could absolutely positively be linked to a past life that's beyond this life, you know, but it could be a trail. Like, I'll put a link in the description box for my latest podcast. I actually had two, but the one was really powerful because I had this breakthrough of something that had happened in one of my past lives, like hundreds of years ago. And then how it came to show up in this life again, for me to actually see it and face it and heal it and move forward. It was so powerful. It was so profound. So I don't know how it's going to be for you guys, but allow yourself, like, sit in silence, go in nature. We spoke in the group reading at the beginning, like Spirit was really calling us to be at one with the trees right now. Getting away from the bullshit, and like, especially the online stuff, like, let it go, you know, like that stuff it's not helping anybody right now. I mean, it isn't, well, that's not true. It is, obviously it's serving a purpose, but I'm saying, like, in terms of, you know, it's just kind of it's just like breaking people's hearts and shattering their hearts. So in some ways it's really good, but in other ways it's kind of like, you know, we can't just endlessly be in suffering, because it's so bad on our nervous system, our whole entire avatar, you know, inwardly, outwardly, our mental, emotional, all of it. It's just, this is like an expansion and a stretching of the soul that we've never seen, you know, at least now, you know, like, we've never experienced this before. This is brand new. And so we're all doing our best while we're here right now. But I mean, I feel like for you guys, you know, you're beautiful, magical souls. And it's just like, enough already. Like, there's no more swords, right? Because after well, there are, it goes to the knight, but I'm saying, like, you know, from 1 to 10, it's like, you're done, you know. One of my favorite, I'm going to use it because I love it. One of my favorite examples, if you're a Sex and the City fan, I know that it's gotten a lot of controversy and stuff over the years, but I just want to go back and say that if you remember in the Sex and the City movie, when Charlotte is like so terrified that she's going to lose her baby, she's like, look at this past year. She's like, look what happened to you and Big. Look what happened to, Miranda and Steve. Look what happened, to Samantha and Smith, Jared. She's like, I'm just like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm just like waiting for something, and she was pregnant and she'd lost a baby before. And so she's like, Charlotte, she's like, you shit your pants this year. I think you're done. And that part always makes me laugh because what she was trying to say was because they were on this vacation and she drank water in Mexico on accident, and she ended up like she couldn't hold it and she like ended up pooping her pants. And they were all laughing and she was like, no, it's awful. I just pooped my pants. And they're like, it's okay. Like shit happens, right? And she's like, you shit your pants this year. Like that's enough. Why does it have to be as extreme as ours? She's like, you are happily married. She's like, you don't have to, like, your life doesn't have to fail or doesn't have to fall apart or implode or explode just because ours did. She's like, ours, went as far, like that's just what happened. She's like, and they just happened to all happen within this year. She's like, but, she's like, it could have just as easily happened for you, but it didn't. She's like, so that was her thing, was like, you shit your pants. That's enough. We all have one thing, a year that we will look back on. Maybe we have many, but we always have at least one where we're like, wow, that was rough. That was a rough time, because we're fucking human here. And Spirit wants you to remember that you're human here. So, we are metaphorically like pulling those swords out of your back so you can stand upright again and feel good about yourself and feel proud about yourself and look at what is happening. I mean, that's what I said. I'm like, I didn't realize why things had happened to me over the last 24, not happened to me, for me, right? Like I didn't understand like what was happening, but then afterwards, and I had time to like reflect on it and think about it and go through it, I realized what a connection it was to my father wound. And then once I realized it was that wound, I realized like, okay, now I can move forward. Now I can see it for what it is. But right now I cannot, you know what I mean? Like I can't, like when you're in it and you're upset, that's when we take a breather and take a step back and go, okay, let me see. I don't know. I feel like there might be one more. Is there any more? No, that's it. Okay. Do we have any more messages for reading one right now before we go? That's it, reading one. I hope these messages helped you in any way. And if you're drawn to the other readings, by all means, go and check them out. But don't make something your story if it's not your story, I've said this for years, just because, like, oh, pretty. Or it's like sometimes you're drawn to something because, yes, you're drawn to it. And sometimes it's like you'd be drawn to that no matter what because you like fairies. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes people are like, oh, the fairy reading's mine because I like fairies. And it's like, but even though you're kind of drawn to like the demon one, but you're like, but I'm a fairy, so I'm going to go to the fairy one. It's like, use discernment, use your intuition, and if all else fails, use your pendulum or flip a coin, but always make sure that you wash the coin really, really well and you bless it and ask Spirit to take away any energies or entities, and that is only there to help you to make decisions. And I, like for myself, you could do it any way you want that feels good, but I just do heads yes, tails no. And and it really does help. Sometimes I'll do it like 5 times in a row. And whenever it's split, it's like a lot of times too that like is telling you that like either they don't want to reveal the answer to you yet, or you're not ready to receive the answer yet, or it's because it has other people involved. And so it's like, it's just not time. This instant gratification, we want it right now. I want the golden egg, Father. Like that's gone. The instant gratification, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But we've been fed this bad bill of goods that like, if you do this, you should receive this. If you do this, you'll receive this. But it's like things are changing. So just remember that everything is changing, but you're not alone. And if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting. All that stuff helps. If you guys haven't noticed, we are blowing up because it's time and the world needs us now. So I'm here for you. This tribe is here for you. This channel is here for you. We love you. We'll see you at the next reading. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Oh, and also, if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, or if you'd like to contribute to any of the work that I do on this channel, there are links for that in the description box. It's not a full link, or no, in the description box it is, but the email, you just highlight it. You can highlight it and then copy it and put it into your email. And you can send me that. And I work with individuals, groups, couples, and I work on a sliding scale. Sometimes it's over the phone, sometimes it's Zoom, sometimes it's video, whatever they call me to do. Anyway, until then, we'll see you next time. Oh, bye. Welcome, reading 2. Interesting, as I started to begin, I looked up and saw my dragon, not my dragon, but saw a dragon. And I feel, hold on. Yeah, like I just released like this huge like energy. I definitely am feeling some dragon, suppressed dragon energy. Oh, I just got the chills. Suppressed dragon energy. There's this card sticking out, but I'm gonna see, do we want to pull any cards from here? I didn't think we were going to be going into the cards right away, but I definitely kind of felt like, oh, maybe they just want me to go into the book right away. Interesting. I don't always read the book, but they're having me really, well, so far, the second one. So let's read the book, Food and Hunger. Interesting that forgiveness is after that, and it opened to that instead of food and hunger. So I feel like that means something to somebody. It's also on page 39, if that means anything. So it says, you didn't have enough to eat in your past lives, causing you to overeat and hoard food in this incarnation. You may have weight or eating disorder issues because you associate eating with fear instead of hunger. You harbor insecurities about whether there will be enough food in the future, so you may stock up supplies. You also serve yourself large portions and make sure to eat everything on your plate just in case there won't be enough food in the future. For some people, this pattern also applies to fears about having enough water to drink. Often, just remembering the past life pattern is enough to heal the issue. Understand that the past is over and will not repeat in this current lifetime. The goal should be to learn from it and then to let it go. Also, let fears of deprivation fade away as they are no longer necessary. Open yourself up to abundance. I feel like somebody needed to see that. So even if you personally like don't have those other things, there's something that you're hoarding. It could be energy, it could be people, it could be time, it could be, but it's related to food and hunger. And it could even be that like you always had enough food, so like you weren't hungry, so to speak, but it wasn't like, the best. Like maybe your family were farmers, and so there was like an endless supply of potatoes. Like there was always potatoes. And though you love potatoes, you're like, man, I'd like to have some fucking noodles once in a while. It could be something like that. Or it could be that like maybe you're on a really tight budget, and so every week you kind of buy the same foods and eat the same things because you know that your budget can stretch that food longer. I'm also seeing a mother who, I see number 4. So either you have 4 kids in this life or you had 4 kids in a past life. And so I feel like you're the oldest though. I feel like you're the oldest of your family, of your siblings. Or you could be an only child, but I feel like there's something there. And again, it could be this past life, like when you were younger, or it could be like a past life that is resurfacing in this one. That's why when people are like, we sign soul contracts, or what do you mean? Like, people ask me questions all the time. They're like, what does it mean when you say like this? Or what does it mean when you say that? I'm like, well, it means, this or that. And I feel like in this situation, it's kind of like it's open to interpretation because there's so many of us here, and there's a lot of different things that are coming through. So it's kind of like insert your story. And my eyes keep coming to this deck. I feel like there's another card. There we go. I knew it. I have finances. So this makes sense, right? They go hand in hand. And was I just not saying that, right? Like it's exactly right. It's that you have, you either don't have enough money or you have just enough money. And I also feel like some of you, like you've been in this loop for so long, and the only way to pull yourself out of it is to make a really bold change, like a really, really bold change. Let me see do you want me to read finances from the book? I'm also hearing, for some of you, like it was not your, like, no one taught you like how to save, or like, I kind of feel like I'm seeing somebody who has like a reckless parent, like a single parent, maybe a drinker. It feels like a male, like a father. If you didn't watch the group reading in the beginning, I spoke of my father wound as well. So maybe this was for you. If you didn't watch that, you might want to go back and watch that. But I'm definitely feeling like a dad who only did the bare minimum, or like you would have to like hoard food or hoard money or whatever because they would spend it all on booze or gambling or women or all of the above. But I almost feel like for some of you, I don't know where the mom is. I don't know if they died or if they left or whatever, but I definitely feel, at least for one person, the wound is really, really deep and it still stays with you. I just got the chills. Um, and now I don't know if this is connected to the same mom of four that I saw, or you know what I mean? Like, or maybe this is everybody, you know what I mean? But it's like different for your story and you're like, I get it. Um, but there's definitely a connection with a divine masculine. It could even be that your mom was like, you know, I hate to say it, but you know, those kind of moms that you see in the movies where she needs a man to take care of her. So she like allows like the man to treat her and the kids like shit, or she, you know, maybe she's getting money from the government and like the, you know, the guy is like living off of that. And like, I just feel like there's definitely some like rascal divine masculine involved who's reckless with money. And, you know, but at the same time, I do feel like somehow they'll like get you guys food or whatever. So again, it's like you don't get to choose what you want to eat, but you're not fully going hungry, or maybe you're like going to a food bank or something like that. But I do feel like at least one of you has starved or like had to like beg for food, or like you were like, I'm also feeling a pride thing, like where you would rather go without for a really long time than to ask for help. So there's a lot of different things that are coming through. So these are all these different like stories. So it's very interesting. It says your relationship with money is being affected by your past life experiences. For instance, you may have had a lifetime of extreme poverty or even wealth. Many people struggle to save money because their old lifetimes involved communal wealth, where the convent, tribe, or village provided for everyone's needs. In those lifetimes, there was no such thing as individual savings accounts or separate possessions. As a result, you may find that your finances are a perplexing and upsetting mystery. Your income may roller coaster up and down until you come to terms with the fact that you're currently incarnated in a Western capitalistic society that operates on individualism. To heal this situation, understand that money is merely energy and can be used for good purposes or negative ones. It's up to you. Know that money is in itself neutral. It is what you do with it that matters. Act with the intention to help the world through charity and generosity. That is a noble virtue. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you, you know, I say this to you guys all the time. The more you put out into the world, the more it comes back to you. The universe wants to give you. When you keep giving to the universe, then the universe wants to give back to you. Now, sometimes it might take a minute, you know, like I have moments where I'm like, you know, how come this is happening for me right now? You know, like I feel like I'm done with this or that. And then spirit will show me something that happened in its karma. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I understand that. And when we understand that, when we can accept that that's what it is, it's a lot easier to heal that wound, if that makes any sense. Okay, do we want to take any more cards from the past life deck? And do we have any supplemental information for, oh boy, I've been shuffling, but, oh, the High Priestess, number 11. Okay, well, it's number 2, but I'm seeing it as number 11. Or is it number 11? Let's find out. I feel like she wants to go here. See, I always tell people I read tarot. I'm not a tarot reader. I feel like some of you are like, of course it's this number or that number, but I don't always see things the way. Okay, so it's number 2, but I see it as 11. But also, you know what's interesting, you guys? I meant to show you in the finances. Where is it? It started on page 37, which is 10 completion, and then it wrapped up on page 80 or 38, which is 11. So very interesting. It's like, and I, so definitely like, you know, that makes sense, right? Like most of you that are watching this reading right now, you're probably light workers of some kind, earth angels, star seeds. So yeah, like we don't like money and all that. Like we all help each other, love each other, take care of each other. Like, you know, this like lonely, like you need to be by yourself. No, I mean, I love tarot. I love all different types of interpretations of tarot decks. I'm going to push this here, but I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that she looks like, I mean, you can look at it so many different ways, but I kind of look at it as like her eyes are closed, she's sad, her wings are down. You know, it's like the sun and the moon are there, they're watching out for her. but I feel like it just feels very lonely. This card feels very lonely. And I bet a lot of you felt very lonely. I know I did, as I'm the same, right? So it's not an easy road for us to be here. So it makes sense that you may have these scarcity issues or these, like my partner, we were constantly struggling with the poverty consciousness because we were raised very, very differently. And even though like I had my father wounds and had all that, right? Like my dad was also like that, good time Charlie. But I remember one time he and my mom were fighting about money or something like that. And he's like, I work my fucking ass off. He's like, you always have everything you want. You always have everything you need. And my mom's like, yeah, but we need you. We want you. Like, we want you here. Like, thank you. We are appreciative of that. She's like, but we'd like you to be here with your family, And his excuse for his addiction was like, I need this time to myself. Like, I work so hard at a job I fucking hate to make really good money so we can live in the lifestyle that we do. Where my partner was raised in a trailer park and he didn't even have hot water for 7 years. Like his parents, like they'd rather like party and booze it up. Like he'd have to take showers and baths at the neighbor's house, a nice lady who was like this poor little boy. So it's like, it's a very different, we both had, addicts for parents, but it was just a completely different world. So we're all going to go through all of our wounds, all of our lessons, everything are different. And I said to him recently, I'm like, we may be twin flames. I'm like, but we've been through so many like of the same things, but in a completely different way. So we have to remember that. Okay, so I like to read both upright and reverse, but since this came out upright, we'll start there. It says, the high priestess is a symbol of wisdom and introspection. The moon and the sun held up by the pillars illustrates how both clarity and mystery can support the same essential truths. While the magician makes use of the known world looking outward, the high priestess turns inward. Oh, that's probably why I felt that. I felt like such a solitary, interesting, but I also felt a sadness there. When the observable truth presents more obstacles than solutions, it may be appropriate to trust the things you know but cannot yet name. Trust your heart. This reading is a message from your higher self. So your higher self wants you to look at, this lifetime, past life, and then like other lifetimes, past life, for you to connect the dots. And I don't know why that's happening because no lighting or anything is changing here. So, I feel like that's kind of like spirits like zooming in and zooming out. It's like, oh my gosh, seriously. That's crazy. Um, I feel like they're trying to show you that, it's like they're trying to get your attention that you need to look at these things because a lot of you, you're like, how come I'm not moving forward? It's like, because you're not living in the world. You're not living the life and the world that you want to be living in. You have to fake it till you make it. There's a reason why that saying is so popular and it really does make a difference. I mean, I know when I first started my channels, I was like, oh, I don't want people to see where I live. So like I only really wanted to do like nature stuff because I was embarrassed. I was like, oh, I don't want people to, and I remember even, growing up, like we had a nice house in a nice neighborhood. Then my parents got divorced. And this was before, I'm 54. So this was before you had to pay child support, before it was like a legal thing. And so my dad used that over my mom, like he hung that over her head. So we lived in government subsidized housing and my mom moved to the other side of the tracks, like the good side of the tracks, but like right at the edge kind of thing, so that I can go to the like really nice richy high school where all the rich kids went. And she thought it'd be better for me to like elevate myself. And in some ways it was, but in other ways it wasn't, because like I didn't want anyone to know where I lived. And like one of the most popular boys in school, like literally, like, I mean, like the town knew who he was, because of his sports and everything. He saw me waiting, or he saw me running out to the bus and it left. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, shit, shit, shit. Like, I'm like, and I could walk home, but it was like, I just got done with school. I just got done, with like I don't remember if I was there for speech team or whatever it was, but I was there after school doing stuff and it was late, it was like 5 or 6, and it would take me a good like 45 minutes to an hour to walk home. And I was so fucking tired. And he saw me and he was like, hey, and he's like, and he said my name, and he's like, and I was like, oh, hey, what's up? And, And he's like, do you need a ride? And I was like, oh, no, I'm good. It's all good, And long story short, he like insisted, he's like, no, he's like, it's getting dark, it's cold. He's like, it's stupid. He's like, he's like, where do you live? And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like that moment in Pretty in Pink where she's like, I don't want you to see where I live. Like, I don't want you to know where I live. And it really was very real. And so I had him drop me off at my friend's house who lived in the neighborhood behind, our apartment complex. And then like some years later, I was talking to him and we were at a party and he's like, when I dropped you off, he goes, you live in the government subsidized housing, don't you? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, when I dropped you off, he's like, you didn't live there, did you? And I'm like, no. And he's like, I thought so. He's like, I know the guy that lives next to them. And he's like, that was the Patterson girls. And I'm like, yeah, those are my friends. And he's like, I just thought maybe you just wanted me to drop you off there. But he's like, wow, that sucks that you had to like feel that way, because he was very rich and all the girls liked him and he was, a famous wrestler and, but I can feel his empathy. I don't know why. I feel like now I'm going to stop it. I could feel his empathy. And it was a very moving, very touching moment, but it made me realize that like I had to learn how to feel that way. So now when I see that in others, it's like, I know what that feels like. So I feel for you. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling with, I feel for you. And I don't know why it's like it won't stop now. It's like the more I'm trying to, let me see if I move this. No, well, I guess that's what they want you to see. So in this situation, or just close your eyes, trust your heart. So the reverse says, in this position, the high priestess encourages us to discern the difference between a mystery and a lie. Trusting your intuition must be tempered with a healthy degree of skepticism. Are you unstable? Oh, that's interesting. Freudian slip. Are you unable to name your challenges because they're new? Or is it because the full scope of the truth has been concealed from you? Who and what is keeping secrets? So I feel like this feels very, I mean, and it could even be, you guys, it doesn't have to be that like, serious. It could even just be that like, maybe you're somebody that like your friends and family don't know you watch stuff like this, or they don't know this side of you. And if they knew this side of you, they may not love and accept you. Maybe you're afraid of, maybe they're going to cut you off or something like that. I remember I was so concerned years ago about that. And then when it finally like presented itself, I was like, you know what? I don't want anything. I don't want anything from my parents. I don't want anything from my family. Like, I don't want anything, even if I quote unquote deserve it, even if it's my right. I was like, so it could be some of you, maybe you're afraid of getting cut off from your parents, or you're waiting for some big inheritance. That just came through. So yesterday I was going through and throwing away things, and I found a bunch of paperwork from 2 different estates that I was like, I don't know what happened with that, or if there's anything out there for me. But I realized that, that's a horrible way to live if somebody's hanging something over your head like that. I'm seeing the single mother thing again. Let me see if we have any more past life cards. So it could be even for some of you, you're like, well, you don't know what it's like to feed, kids and whatever. And I'm like, I don't, but I know what it's like to be that kid and watch my mom go through it. Okay, we have our first reverse card of the day. And this is the 4 of Coins. The 4 of Coins in reverse. Looks like Rapunzel. So I'll put the High Priestess here and the 4 of Coins here. And even though we know it's in reverse, I'm going to leave her upright so that you can connect with her. Okay, so the 4 of Coins in reverse. I feel like there's a lot of you here. I feel a lot of different energies. A lot. Like more than normal on this particular reading. Probably because there's so many of us as light workers, right? Like this is one that we're learning this lifetime. So the reverse, it says your relationship with money is unstable. Remember I just said something, I said unstable. That's so interesting. The reverse Four of Coins points to a pattern of fiscal irresponsibility that you have not fully examined. You have not yet built a reliable foundation for yourself, yet you may be putting your resources into frivolous things that may not feel altogether satisfying in the long run. Oh, it's on page 113, which is also the number 5. So it's time to change that habit. I'm getting the vibe like credit cards. Man, I got rid of credit cards like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, maybe longer now. I realized that they're evil. I kept one around for quote unquote emergencies, but it always felt like something would be an emergency until you start to realize that the only thing you really need is food and shelter. Like a warm, cozy bed and a roof over your head and food are luxuries. And we have gotten, told that we need this, we need that, and especially things like Temu. It's just gross. They're just like chugging out stupid fucking shit, just more shit for us to destroy, more shit for us to bury back into Gaia. It's like, how many fucking water bottles do you need? It's like 1 or 2, and you keep it around, you clean it, it's like the discipline has gone out the window. And also things like dishwashers and like easy access. I was at someone's house some years ago when everything started going like techie, and her and her husband are really wealthy, and we were having a conversation about something, and she said something like, oh yeah, I'll have to put that on my list or something. And she barely said anything, and it was like her fucking refrigerator was like, would you like me to add that to your shopping list? I'm like, what the fuck was that? She's like, oh yeah, it's my fridge. I'm like, your fridge? I'm like, your fridge talks to you? And she's like, yeah, like lets me know like if I'm out of stuff. Or I'm like, are you fucking around? I'm like, because we grew up together, and I was like, that's like Marty McFly, like Back to the Future shit, But it's not. It really isn't. So it's like, but that's what I mean. Where people are like, Alexa, can you blah blah blah? Or it's like, now I get it. Like if you got kids and you're busy and all that, like I don't want to take that away from you. If you're like, hey, don't knock it, man. But I also think that there's something about that too, right? Because it's like, why have we become so ungrounded that we can't even take a moment to stop and write something down or connect with it on a different level? I mean, it's just, we've gotten so reliant on technology, but Earth is not a technology-based planet. That's why so many people love Earth so much. They love like the waterfalls and all this. It's like, we're programmed to like see the beauty in Gaia and all that. But technology is something that was brought to us. I mean, think about it. We've had technology here off and on for centuries and centuries and centuries, even though people don't want to look at it. But we know from ancient aliens and just from, archaeologists where they're like, there's like literally nothing that could make that but lasers. And they're like, but according to this carbon print, it's like 26,000 years old, so we know that Earth has, that's when, even now when myself and others, like, we're like, wow, this is like the first time it's happened on planet Earth. It's like, yes and no. I mean, this has been happening. We've been going through this for millennia, but what we're going through right now, no, because each time we're learning more, we're growing more, we're expanding our awareness more, so. But when Earth started, we were intelligent light beings coming here to start this Earth school. So, it's gone up and down and up and down, and that's part of humanity. We co-created it. But at the same time, it's like, it's going to feel very individualized right now because we never went through it like this at this time, if that makes any sense. So I feel like for some of you, it's like you're caught up in this keeping up with the Joneses bullshit. And I'll tell you what, I've watched it destroy so many people, myself included. That's when I was like, I'm done. Like, no more credit cards, no more, my first marriage, my husband and I, he was really good with money. He came from money, and he, I was watching my mom with credit cards and overspending and, trying to satiate something that no fucking, present I buy that day or food or whatever is ever going to satiate that loneliness or whatever it is I'm not confronting, right? But at the end, when we were going to divorce, I had all the leverage in our divorce. And because of our lifestyle and where we lived and our marriage and everything, I could have really gone after him. But instead he was like, look, I know we both did this, but let's be honest, 3/4 of our credit card debt is from you. And it was bad. It was like it was like 30,000 or something. It was bad. 35,000, somewhere in there. I'm not proud of it. Okay. Lived in LA, tried to, whatever, or like this happened. Also, we were in a time where people started borrowing money against their credit cards and they made it look like it was such a good deal. But you realize, like, and even he said, he's like, I'm not mad at you. I know you always try to do your best. He's like, but we're never going to crawl out of this. So he ended up like, I don't know if he took a loan from his dad or what he did, but he took some savings or something, and he just like, he made a deal with these companies and he just like paid them off. And he's like, there now, he's like, no spousal support. No, he's like, but you're debt free. And it was really awesome. I got to walk away, with a clean slate. So, I'm not saying that's going to happen for everybody, but there's something powerful about, making your money and knowing where it's going. Everything that I have right now has a purpose, even down to the food. So the upright position says the Four of Coins indicates a desire for stability and control. You have not been as intentional as you had hoped, and you feel inclined to scale back your spending to conserve your resources. Though you are in a good place, the primary motivator for your fiscal behavior seems to be fear. This suggests miserly habits, which some people think of that as a negative word, but basically it's just saying like, well, let me finish. You're neglecting opportunities to invest in things that will bring you joy. You may be keeping your best assets locked away from the world. And I just heard for some of you, the best assets have nothing to do with money at all. Maybe it's the gift that you're meant to bring into the world creatively through, your gifts, whatever that, I just got the chills. And miserly habits just means like, maybe you're hoarding your money. And that's another thing too. Like, we need to keep the money flowing. I put money on my altar, but then, to show the universe that, I'm investing in myself. And then the more money like that you know, and then I like let it be blessed and we cleanse it and all that. And then I put it back into circulation and I pray over it so that the next person and every person who has ever touched that bill and will ever touch that bill, will be blessed. And you know what I mean? And it's like, that's part of like what I do. I know it may sound crazy, but to some people, but that's how I kind of like help. And I'm telling you right now, it really does make a difference. That's when it's like one of us, either myself or my partner will, get a downfall of, or influx of money, or, we'll do a big, job or whatever and make a big chunk of money. And it's really great. But also I'm hearing that for some of you that it's like, I feel like you're living check to check. So you're like, well, how do I get ahead? And it's like, yeah, but that's where you have to really, really look at like your situation and see where you can make some changes. And you may have to tie in those purse strings. I had, when I was younger and I was living on my own, I was like 19 years old and I had this job downtown in Chicago. It was my first apartment and I had already had my car, but luckily I didn't have a car payment, but I had my insurance and I had to put gas in it and I had to take the train to work and I had to feed myself. And at the end of the day, once I paid my rent and all my bills, and this is before cell phones and stuff, but I had a phone line and water and all that. And once I paid all of that, I was lucky if I had $25 a week to eat. Now, mind you, this was like 30 years ago, but even so, $25 30 years ago was still not that much to eat the entire week. So until and I was working my ass off and trying to hustle to make money on the side, but I just found that the best thing for me to do was I would get like a big thing of rice and a big thing of frozen vegetables, and I would eat the same meal every day for work. And then on the weekends was like my splurge, so like if I wanted pizza or, macaroni and cheese, like that was a splurge for me. But during the week, it was like every morning I had oatmeal because it was cheap and it was easy and it was quick. So I'd have oatmeal for breakfast and I would have my rice and my vegetables for lunch. And then sometimes dinner, I didn't have dinner at all. Like I'd have no food, or I'd have like maybe a pickle or something like that. And that is no way to live. And I'm not saying you should live like that, but I had no choice until like then when people from my work found out that was happening, they were like, oh my gosh, that's awful. And I had been at my work like 9 months or whatever. And my boss called me in and said, you know, you've been doing such a good job here and we really love having you here. We'd like to give you a little more responsibility and we can give you a little bit more money so that you can feed yourself. We had no idea. And then he like gave me money and I was like, no, no, no. And he's like, take it. And he's like, take this money and go and buy yourself some groceries, because I was embarrassed and I didn't want to tell people. So I just lied and told him that I was dieting and that I was like, you know, but I'll tell you what, it's like once it's like all I needed to do was just ask for help and then help was there. And luckily, you know, people noticed what was going on. And I think somebody was like, dude, she's not eating like that. They're like, she literally has no money. Like she has no money to eat. And also, I didn't have money for a winter coat. And so, like my birthday that year in December, all of the people came together and they all gathered money and they're like, go buy yourself a decent coat. And, you know, so it's like, and that was like my job. So you just never know. It's okay to ask for help. There are shelters everywhere. There are food banks everywhere. You know, and a lot of the food banks have like really like amped it up. I know that in one area I lived, when the food banks, or one area that I lived in, there was a food bank that I could walk to, and it was right around the corner from Trader Joe's. So it was really, really cool because after they would, you know, get there, I would go and wait in line, because somebody's like, man, if you're like a vegan and you eat organic, you need to get here as soon as it opens. They're like, you need to get here hours before and wait in line, because that's the first stuff that goes. But I was so grateful, you know. So there are a lot of grocery stores and a lot of places, you know, Sprouts, all of them, they all give to local food banks and charities and things like that. They're also government, I don't know about now because the American government is a little wacky, but I don't know about your country, but like investigate and see like maybe there's a way that you can, you know, look into that, because that it helps a lot. If you're spending $100 a week on food, if you can get that for free, you know, until you get back up on your feet, you can save some money to get you to the place you need to go. Don't be too proud. Ain't too proud to beg, right? And was that you guys I was singing What Was I Made For at the beginning, you know? So maybe for some of you, I mean, it's interesting too, because look at both of them are looking down. It's like you're afraid to, it's like, I feel like you're just like keeping your nose to the grindstone and you're looking down, but Spirit's like, I feel like they're trying to get you to like see what's really happening. I almost feel like some of you are in a downward spiral. Do we have any more messages for reading too? Oh, listen to that. Listen to those cars going by. Okay, 2 flew out, so I don't know. Okay, so we have the Magician, number 1, and I'm hearing don't forget who you are and where you come from. So the Magician is 1 and the High Priestess is 2. And maybe it's about, you know, getting your divine masculine and divine feminine sorted out. Interesting, this one's in reverse as well. So we had 2 upright with the Magician and the High Priestess. And I'm feeling like from your past life too, like you were a Magician and a High Priestess. They just want you to remember who you are. And now we have the 5 of coins. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's crazy. I've had this deck for years. Don't you think that's, I mean, look at that. We've got 1 and 2 and 4 and 5. But interestingly enough, this one was 2 and then 1, and this one was 4 and then 5. You know what I'm saying? So this one kind of went back and this one's going forward, even though it was in reverse. So let's read what the Magician has to say. Wow, this is going even, ooh, it opened right up to it. Okay, it says the Magician makes efficient use of all available tools, while the Fool daydreams of grand possibility. The Magician takes the steps necessary to realize those dreams. There is planning and intentionality involved here, as well as resourcefulness and a clarity of purpose. While the Fool relies on luck, the Magician knows that luck favors the prepared. Wow, it's on page 16, if that means anything. Could be maybe when you were 16, like some of you, maybe you've been on your own since you were a teenager. I know what that's like. It's not easy. And the reverse says the Magician is in this position as a reminder that desire for control can be stifling or even destructive. In this case, the inclination to plan is almost solely motivated by fear. Even the best laid plans can be upended, but it is still possible to move forward after stumbling. Beware of those subtle manipulators who seek to wrest control of your fate out from your own hands. Oh my gosh. And did I not say, like, I felt like, yeah, there's something that's like holding you back from, you know, and here's the masculine again too. So you could be like a male identified, like watching this, or it could just be for, you know, overall in general, just like the divine masculine and feminine, getting them both, the magician and the high priestess, like, you know, remembering who you are and remembering that, you know, to let love lead the way, let magic lead the way. Ugh, and look at this one. She's got her mirror is cracked. And remember we said earlier fives came up too. So fives are about change and transformation, and sometimes it's about like the halfway point. You know, maybe some of you like you're halfway there. So the reverse says money is tight, but you may find that your difficult times are coming to a close. Yay! The reverse 5 of coins signifies that you have regained some agency over your circumstances. Oh, nice. Though this does not herald an immediate change in your life, it does mean a more positive relationship with money is coming. And it's on page 114, which is kind of interesting because 16 was like 1 before 6, and it's like 1. And then this one is 114, which is the number 6. And 6 is a huge number for us for 2026. And not just that it's in the date, you know, the number of the year. So work with 6 as well, because I feel like 6, look up 6 angel numbers, 6 in numerology. You could even be a life path 6, but it could be also that like maybe you've just been in this for a really long time and spirit's trying to like tell you that like, you know, it's in a world of your own making. You know, you get to decide the outcome. You're not a victim here. So that's interesting. So the upright of the 5 of coins says the 5 of coins signifies difficult times ahead. You may have suffered a major financial setback. Your dire circumstances are compounded by the accompanying embarrassment and isolation, and you feel as though you must confront your problems alone. And I said that I felt like somebody was feeling like some shame around it. Now, mind you, it was in reverse, so that's good. You know, that means that money's coming, but this is part of like, you know, if you're still looking at the cracked mirror instead of replacing the mirror, it's like those things are important, and having things in front of you and around you that are putting you towards your future and not your past. You know, recently I worked on someone's home, and I was called to pull all their pictures away, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it, but I realized, because especially if you have pictures around you that are like old, like I have this really cute picture of my grandma and grandpa. My grandma always, I know she doesn't like this picture because she was caught off guard, not smiling. And it's funny because usually my grandpa would be the one that wouldn't smile. Look at how cute I was. I was like 27 or 28. My grandma died 4 days after this. This is my witchy grandma I always tell you guys about. And she had lost her hair to chemo, and it was growing back a little bit. And my sister was so cute. She put like a little rinse on there. Also, what is going on? I've been working outside so much and my manicures are suffering. But anyway, I keep that on my altar, and I didn't always keep that on my altar, but I recently found it and I put it up there. Like something like that is different, but like if you're having pictures up of, you know, you and like your someone, whoever it is, and maybe it's a great picture, but like the event wasn't great, or you know what I mean? It's like you're like subconsciously always, when your eyes go to that, you're somehow judging that up. And I kind of feel like for some of you, you're like, you know, you're emotional cutters, you know, and I don't take that lightly because I was a cutter and I've known cutters. But I do feel like for some of you, you're emotional cutters, and that's why you're not moving forward either, because you're kind of staying in this limbo energy. And Spirit's saying, but you're the one that's going to change your money. You're the one that's going to like move and change everything around. It says your dire circumstances are compounded by the accompanying embarrassment and isolation, and you feel as though you must confront your problems alone, but you don't. It says you may find it difficult to face yourself, and for reasons you do not fully grasp, it is difficult to seek help. So this is definitely where this is a time for you guys to ask for help and ask Spirit and be like, you know, you're not in this alone. You've got this. You've got this. You've got this. And I love that both of these are like, hold on, let me move this. They're divine feminine. Also, I just watched a reading yesterday. I feel like this wants to go this way, which is kind of interesting, because that one was first, but I feel like it wants to go like this. I just watched this reading, and it was all about hair. And it was something about hair. So it could even be like for some of you, like maybe you need like a whole new look. Ooh, ooh. I don't know how long that was gone, but it just said reconnecting and live. I hope that went through. I'll have to check back. It was at the 155 mark. So I don't know what went out and what went in, but I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but maybe it's about letting your hair down. Also, I'm getting the vibe like her head is covered, you know? So it could even be to like to protect your crown chakra more. Because look at now, her head is covered too. And here she's more of the high priestess, right? So she's like wearing a cloak. But here, this is royalty. And I feel like that's what you are. I feel like you're royalty. Spirit had me put a bunch of like things around, little post-its, just to remind me like who I am and why I'm here, and that kind of thing. So it could be for some of you like you need to do the subliminals. If they call me to, I'll put a link for Infinity. I've never listened to her subliminals, but apparently they're supposed to be really powerful, and I believe it because I love their readings. She's from a channel called Magnetize Yourself. So if Spirit calls me to, I'll put a link in the description box. But subliminals in your subconscious are so powerful. They're so powerful. And so we need to get you more into like the, just remembering who you are and bringing that energy back into your mindset. Because I feel like some of you are still stuck in the third dimensional muggle energy. And like, and I keep hearing like, I don't deserve it. You do deserve it. I don't know who told you that, but you absolutely positively deserve to flourish. You deserve to have a vibrant, beautiful, abundant life in all areas. And again, this likens to the beginning when they talked about the negative energies and, maybe the negative people in your life or the negative talk or whatever. But this is about, turn that frown upside down, sad Sally. Okay, do we have any more messages for reading two? I think that's it. Do we have any more messages for reading two at this time? Nope, that's it. All right, you guys, I hope these messages helped you in any way. And also for those of you who read tarot or are familiar with the tarot, if you're feeling like more, because I'm feeling like there's more in these cards and these readings for you to, really work with. So you may even want to like, work more with the magician, the high priestess, those energies, because it's interesting that they're more like, not that they needed to be on sides, but I definitely feel like this side felt more lean towards like past life. And this is like the future, like present and future. Also, it could be for some of you that the divine feminine is like literally like calling you to connect with that love, with that heart center side. Because I feel like for some of you, because you can't, fear and love kind of don't exist in the same place, and not allowing other people's fear to diminish your love for yourself and for others, if that makes any sense. All right, you guys, until next time, all of my information is in the description box if you'd like to contribute to the work that I do on this channel monetarily. If that is not in your wheelhouse, then remember that prayer is free. It's about the exchange of energy. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, you just highlight and copy and paste magicalmedium@gmail.com in the description box and put it into your email browser and send me an email and we can set it up. I work on a sliding scale and I work with groups, individuals, couples, whatever is needed at the time. I am more than a telepathic medium. I'm also a spiritual guidance counselor and teacher. And yeah, so that's it. All right, you guys, I love you. We'll see you next time. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Hello, welcome reading 3. I felt this in the group reading at the beginning, that there was going to be at least one, like I felt somebody that wanted to come through that's crossed back over. And I just felt this like kind of needy baby, greedy baby energy. And it's not a judgment. It just feels like either they're a new soul or like not a new soul, but like they're newly crossed over. Or it's like their energy was like this when they were alive, but I just feel a very urgent, like I felt like they kept trying to crash like they didn't give a shit about anybody else. Like they just like wanted to get their message in. And I just heard Steve and needy baby, greedy baby. Like I just felt like, so I don't know if this applies to anybody. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, like, and good or bad, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it just feels like whoever this is or whatever this energy is, it feels, a little toxic. So, I'm not sure if this is going to connect with anybody. I want to see, before we go into the book, I want to see if they want me to pull any more cards for anybody. Yeah, I kind of felt, oh yes, I literally was just about to say, if you were called to reading 2, you may want to go and check it out, because this was part of reading 2. I'm so sorry. It's the weekend on Saturday where I live, and I'm on a freeway, and I'm also like in an intersection area where like people can go in a lot of different directions. So when it's like this, we get sometimes bikers, and it's like there could be like 30 of them. So I apologize. I don't feel like they want me to put this out just yet, but I feel like this person might be connected to reading 2, because reading 2, we spoke about somebody who was an addict and kind of caused trouble, and but there was it was a divine masculine energy. It was more of a father figure, but it could absolutely be an uncle figure, or it could be a brother figure, it could be a grandpa. But I'm hearing Steve. And I had, both of my parents have brothers named Steve, but I'm not getting, is it any of the Steves that I know? Yeah, no, it's none of the Steves that I know, but it's the only name that came through. And right when I started your energy, or connecting with your energy, I felt that energy again. So, and I said, who's here? And they said Steve. So that's just for somebody. Also, I don't know, when I saw this card, male, female, I'm not sure 100% what this means right now. I feel like it's going to come through. So it could be maybe Steve, maybe your Uncle Steve was, became a Stephanie, because we're also working with the Star Spinner Tarot. And this deck is created actually with the LGBT community in mind. Also, it's not just the bikers, but like where I live, there's like this area where people like to like stop. So give me just a second. I'm gonna pause until they go by. Okay, sorry about that. Well, they were like the, it's like, oh, dude. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to judge it, but anyway, maybe Uncle Steve or Grandpa Steve or Dad Steve, or maybe they were a biker. Maybe they were a biker. I mean, when I think of bikers, I do kind of think of knights. So thanks bikers. Like for a minute, that annoyed me. Don't get me wrong. I love bikers. I love motorcycles. I've had, my fair share. I have a really funny story of one time how I ended up accidentally in a biker den. And they could have easily like done things differently, and they handled it really well. And they were very nice to me. They're probably catching up with the other ones. But this must mean something, because I've been doing this for over 2 hours, and we haven't had any situations like this. So maybe, please feel free to comment below if you have a biker in your family, or you're a biker, or somehow you're affiliated with them, or if because the divine timing would be so amazing if it is bikers and Steve. So wow, it's really intense. the energy, because for me it's like I live in an RV, so like I can feel that rumbling like underneath me. Hold on. Okay, I apologize for that very, very, very long pause. When I'm recording in live mode, I can't pause it. So I apologize. I wish they would let you do that, but they don't. That's okay. But you know what? I think it was meant to be, because I went out there because I was like, sometimes they do like this waiting in front of our property, and I have like a right to be like, you need to go. So when I went out there, they were just like, there were so many of them, but they were more like grandma and grandpas, and like those like bikes that are like you can travel, like the travel bikes or whatever, and you could just tell like they were like all older. Like I'd say they're probably like 60s and older. I'm in my early 40s or mid 40s, and 50s. Hello, I'm 54. Anyway, sorry, that really threw me off my gate, but that's okay. Give me a second to let's drink some water. Maybe I was meant to go out there and look at it like for that, you know what I mean? Maybe it was a grandpa who was like a knight in your life. The male female is definitely throwing me for a loop. Oh my gosh. And of course I let a fly in. That's interesting. But work with the fly spirit medicine, because again, they haven't come in at all for anything else. So also my eyes went to the finances card again. Like I said, they don't want me to put it in there. So there must be something connected with that, with reading too. And they're like really like driving that home. So I'm going to read the book first, and both cards were an upright. So Knighthood. Thanks for hanging in there, you guys. Once a knight, always a knight. You receive this card as validation of your inner knighthood, whether you're a man or a woman in this life. And maybe that could be the male-female card. Interesting. Whether you're a man or a woman in this life, you have the heart and mind of a knight. Most likely, you've long had a fascination with tales and images of knights. You may collect knight figurines, decorate with knight-related artwork, and even dress up as a knight during costume parties. In relationships and careers, you're drawn to defend those who are weak or vulnerable. You may choose a profession that puts you into a guardian or protector role. It's essential that you only work for organizations that you fully believe in. As a knight, you're loyal to those who earn your respect. Otherwise, you're not happy. Interesting. The next card, or the next in the book, is leaving or travel. So I don't know what that means. Because I just heard, when I looked at this, I heard, should I stay or should I go? So I don't know if you're asking spirit that. Also, oh my gosh, you guys, I shuffled a lot, and look at authority figures is at the bottom. That was reading one. So maybe there's, now again, don't make something your story if it's not your story, but this is messages from your higher self. So your higher self is trying to get your attention with these, with these messages. And especially right now, when so many of us are trying to like move forward and evolve, it's like this could be like what's holding you back from it. So for some of you, it's reading one, some of you it's reading two, and for some of you, maybe it's both. I'm not really 100% sure, but I'm going to go into the male female. And I just, not accidentally, but I just opened up to the mother card. So it could be, there could be some mother wounding in here as well. It says, The male-female card signifies that you've lived most of your lives as a different gender than the one you embody in this life. For example, you may now be living as a female, while in most of your previous lifetimes you were a male. In such cases, gender confusion and even health issues are often related to this change of gender over lifetimes, because for most of your lifetimes you lived as the other sex. You may not feel comfortable in your own skin. If this is your first lifetime as a woman, you may develop gynecological issues or even experience infertility. If this is your first life as a man, you may not relate to traditional masculine roles. This card asks you to have compassion for yourself and trust that your soul is doing the best it can. Remember that your soul is the result of all your past experiences. Ooh, on the next card is the medicine man or woman, which is kind of interesting. But you guys, you know what I got when I was reading that? I don't know who this is for, but they just showed me like a bunch of things all at once. So I'm going to try my best to like, you know, but I saw, now this may not even be for you guys in this reading. They're just showing me an example that, you know how it's like they're trying to make it illegal, or it is illegal in some countries for you to castrate yourself and become another gender. You know what I mean? Like, they're saying like, you know, you were born that way, that's the way that you are, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I think that in this lifetime, that's the whole point of being human on this planet right now, is that we get to choose. But I do feel that there are some people that are confused because they've always been X, Y, and Z, and in this life they're meant to be this, and they're, you know, because some parents are like, I'm sorry, my child, like, he was born a boy, but he is always dressed in girls' clothes. He's always been a girl. He's always worn nail polish, and that like, that's always been who he is. Well, that might be, but like, maybe they're meant to learn how to adjust into, like, they chose that. Now, I'm sure for some people, obviously, you know, it was all, you know what I mean? Like, everything happens for a reason, right? Some people are actually genuinely supposed to change their gender. Like, they're here to show that Earth is a place to be who and whatever you want to be, right? Totally believe that, back that. But this is the first time that Spirit had me look at it from that point of view. And that is really powerful, right? Because if that's the case, then you kind of like, you're not just castrating your genitals, but you're also like castrating your contract. Because maybe in this contract, you're meant to learn how to be that gender, you know, and to see what it's like to live as that gender so that you can be more compassionate. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of interesting. It's like, it could be like, in some ways, it could be the person's taking the easy way out instead of like, that's what they chose in this lifetime. And because we have been raised in victimhood, it's like, you know, it's easy to rally behind people and be like, oh yeah, well, that's what they want. Let them be whatever they want to be. It's like, yeah, that's true. But sometimes it's not good to empower somebody to take the easy way out. You know, sometimes it's better to challenge each other to say, no, this is actually what's better for you. This is actually what's better for, you know, everybody, you know, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like that's for at least one person, or maybe you know somebody like that. It's on page 63 as well, which is also the number 9. I don't know. That like came through, and when it comes through that strongly, I have to speak of it. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see if we have any cards from the Star Spinner Tarot, which is so interesting because I said this in the other readings that this deck, so these cards that we have here are from the Past Life deck, but we're about to pull from the Star Spinner Tarot. And this was actually created with the LGBTQ community in mind. And actually the designer and curator of this deck is themselves, they label themselves as gay. So it's very, very interesting. Whenever I do readings like this, I'm always like, huh, but it makes sense because, right, we're trying to figure out like what's stopping us from our abundance and our happiness, or, you know, insert your story here, right? Like finances came up for this, finances came up for the other reading, you know, it's like all of these readings so far, it's like been of something that, like when I started with the group reading, this whole thing started because of something that went, like I followed the breadcrumbs to why I was struggling in this very intense double Aries energy of the new moon in Aries. And in real time, when I'm doing this reading, it's the 18th. So yesterday was the new moon, but until Taurus comes in tomorrow, that grounding energy, we have this intensity of real like crazy fire energy, not to mention all the other celestial bodies that are in Aries right now. So this is intense. And this is like where spirit's like, there's no more time to like say, oh, I'll deal with that next week. Oh, I'll deal with that. It's like, no, it's here. Next week is now. The future is now. And this is like what we need to deal with now so that we can move forward and do what we came here to do. Because if you found yourself here, you're most likely an angel, earth angel, light worker, starseed of some kind, witch, healer, deep down believer in magic, and you know that you have a bigger role to play. I know for myself, I'm dealing with my father wound right now, but in the last week or so, I've been dealing with so many things of like these past lives, and they all just like came crashing down on me. And I realized that, like, yeah, we need to go through this first, because this is just the beginning of a trickle down process that's gonna, once the rest of the world fully awakens over the next few decades, like, this is stuff that we'll be talking about in history books. We will be the rebels that like put ourselves out there, because there are different times where I would be hung and burned for what I'm doing right now. Trying to help people, trying to help them to see, like, because we've been under this controlled system of dominance from this masculine energy. And right now, Spirit's trying to help us to balance the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And not that like one's better or one, it's like, it's about the balance of it. And for some people, I can see where they would feel very lost. And I would never tell somebody who they are or what they're going through. But I know for myself that like two of the wounds that I've been facing the most with lately is an old mother wound of my own, of losing a child. And then the father wound of the divine masculine of, not feeling loved, not feeling accepted. Why am I not, why don't you want to spend time with me? Like, what's wrong with me? And one of the things that really got me was when I was really upset yesterday, one of the things that came through my mind was I was thinking about somebody who really loved me and who wants nothing more than to be with me. And I was like, why doesn't this person want to be with me? When I have all these other people that want to be with me, that want to, and then it made me realize it's like, my mom used to say, like, she used to play this song for me called, why is it that all the boys that I want don't want me, and all the ones that I don't want do? Why do we seek out the hardest path? Well, because we're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to evolve. When I was going through this depression, I spoke about it in the group reading, but where I, was really sad that my first love, my first boyfriend, my first sex, like, afterwards I was so like devastated when he broke up with me, and my heart was broken. I wanted to die, and like all these things. And I kept playing this song, that song, why does the world go on turning, or something? Why da, 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 da. She's like, don't they know it's the end of the world? It ended when you said goodbye. Because this was like in the 80s, like the mid 80s, right? So like I'm playing like my mom's old records and music, and just like, just playing it over and over. This is before like, CDs and all that, but I just kept playing it over and over. And my mom's like, oh my God, enough. I cannot hear that song anymore. She's like, I know you're sad. I know you're upset, and I was like, oh, my world is over. She's like, yeah, you think that now. She's like, your world's going to end 100 times. People are going to break your heart. Things are going to happen. My mom was a little harsh about it, but that was her, right? Because she had a hard time. She came from a very mean, rigid German grandfather who was taught not to show his emotions, who was taught, lost his mother at an early age. And, it's like, and that stuff spirals down into us, and it penetrates. When I started this, I literally called in the ancestors because I can feel them, and they were here to like remind us, like, that it literally penetrates to our blood and bone. They've done studies on it, scientific research, but either way we can feel it, right? That we get imprinted, that pain and that suffering. So it's each life we get the chance to start over, and to rectify the wrongs, and to look at like the wounding, and so that we can evolve. We're doing this as a collective. We're collectively evolving together, but it's going to be individualized because we each have our own story. So, I feel like for you guys, there's definitely a deep connection here. And it could be to sexuality. It could just be to like, just trying to identify your divine feminine and masculine, and like, where they come from and why. And because I have felt it forever. even before I knew in my birth chart that my birth chart, I'm 70, like if you add up the masculine and feminine energies, I'm 70% heavy masculine, but I'm a divine feminine. And on the outside, like my blonde blue eyes, and like when I get all dolled up and like put the boobs up and do the whole thing, I'm like a little sex pot, right? But like that's not how I really feel. Like that doesn't feel comfortable to me. And it's just it it sometimes it's fun to dress up, I'm not gonna lie, but like I can't wait to take it all off. It just doesn't feel, I feel like a clown. Like I don't feel like myself. I feel more like me, just nothing. I like curling my hair. That's about it. But I mean, it's just like, so it makes sense that I'm so much more into like quote unquote, like my friends were like, oh, you're more of like a tomboy. But I wasn't. I was really into fashion and I was really girly and I went through that whole phase and it was fun. But then when I started going through my awakening and peeling back the layers, I've gone through waves of it. The only thing I brought back that I really enjoy is the nail polish and my nails, and that has felt more like me. But even then, when recently my partner, who we've been separated and trying to work on things, my twin flame, for almost 2 years, and the other day he's been getting a little more close with me and intimate. Ooh, when I looked down, it was 22 202, so what, it was like all twos, and that came up at the beginning and one of the other readings, so definitely check out those other readings. But he like kind of grabbed my hand and he's like, when did you start wearing nail polish again? And I go, October. It's April. He's like, October. I'm like, yeah. And I started wearing black, but it was like a blackish purple with glitter. And then I wore that for months. And then I switched to this blue that I'm wearing now. And I keep wanting to go to more like reds and pinks and girly colors to like bring my divine feminine like in my heart, but I'm just not drawn to it right now. So, it's like, don't force yourself into trying to be something you're not. I feel like for some of you, that could be why you're not, and maybe you do things for others because it just feels good. And maybe you do things for others to kind of, take the spotlight away from yourself because you don't want people to look at you too much. Because look at how the Knight, even though his, what do you call the hood or whatever? Hood makes me think of, the triple K's, yucky. They're playing their role too. But and I forgive it. I just heard, okay. What do they call it? His helmet? Anyway, but he's still looking forward, and it definitely feels, it could be a divine feminine under there, but it does feel more masculine. But the male and female are both looking away from each other and sitting away from each other. They're not looking into screen. They're not like, connecting with us at all. So there could be something with that. Maybe right now you're having a hard time because you're not sure which one to lean more towards, whether maybe you're too much in the divine feminine and you need to lean more towards the divine masculine or vice versa. It's going to be different for everybody. But let's see if we have any messages from the tarot right now. No, my eyes keep going back to the past life deck, so there might be one more card in there. Oh, yep. Oh, yep. You guys, this was literally reading 2, and then we just saw all of those. So I feel like for some of you, you need to go check out, these were both from reading 2. So you need to go check out reading 2 when this reading is over, if you have the time. If not, within the next 24 hours, if possible. This was at the bottom of the deck. Some of you are just really confused, right? Because you're galactic energy. So it's hard to connect to this human body and this, right? Like you're more of a celestial body. So, I just got the chills. So you're really struggling. Oh, I just heard Native American. And if you are Native American, whether it's in this life or past life or whatever, I can see that too. Because, even though I'm Cherokee and I've studied and walked with a lot of Native American shamans on my journey, teachers, even chiefs, I can tell you right now, in my experience, it doesn't matter if you're indigenous or you are the most open-minded, city person. There are still a lot of cultures that just do not allow people to be themselves fully. And most of the time when that happens, it's because they're afraid of their own divinity and afraid of their own divine masculine and divine feminine. They're literally afraid of it. And I know that may sound bizarre, but they are. They're afraid of it. because there's something they haven't confronted yet. So that may be for one person, that may be for many people. I don't know, but that felt really, really strong. Okay, so, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Do you want me to take more than one? I went to shuffle and some came off. Okay, like 3 times my hand went to the same card, but I feel like there's more. So your first card is number 14, Temperance, but it was in reverse. Wow, this is really powerful. So Temperance is also the representation of Sagittarius. So that could mean something. This could be you, or it could be someone in your life. Let me see. Do you want me to read from the book for the Native American? Yeah, I felt that too. Let's start there first, and then we'll get into Temperance. Also, my eyes went to the orphan card. Interesting. So it says, this card signifies that you had an important past life as a Native American, which is connected to your current journey in this life. If you've been drawn to Native American artifacts, cultures, and spirituality, this is because they're familiar to your soul. Studying Native American teachings can help you awaken ancient memories and knowledge that you already have stored within you. This card can also signify indigenous cultures from other countries as well. I was just going to say that. Also, I was like, this feels like this could be part of my reading because I'm a triple Sag, but look, it's on page 71, and there's a lot of us in this tribe that were born in 1971, so that's interesting too. And I literally was going to say, before they said that, I was going to say, I feel like for some of you that you were born in different countries, but you were Native American before, right? Because why not? Like, why, you know what I mean? Like, why not? So that's interesting. And it says, perhaps you have some hidden anger or pain because of a battle or loss during your time as an Indigenous person. As with other past life traumas, a session with a qualified regressionist can help you heal this old energy. In this way, you can retain the lessons and love from that lifetime and release painful blocks. So either seek somebody out to do that. I can help you with that. You can email me. I work on a sliding scale, magicalmedium@gmail.com. It's in the description box. You just highlight it, copy and paste it into your email browser. Or if there's someone that you know that does this, or there's some reader or somebody, you know, on some social media, but it could really help. I mean, honestly, I've been this whole last few weeks, now mind you, or you can do it yourself. Like I've been doing it. When I looked down, it was 2/28, which is my dad's birthday. That's so powerful. I've been doing it myself, but not technically myself, right? Because my dad and my ancestors have been with me while I've been going through the process, but I didn't exactly hire someone to help me. I just went into meditation, was like, why am I feeling this way? What's going on? Is it just, you know, all the celestial bodies in Aries, and then the double Aries with my triple Sag and my third Deacon, you know, in Leo? I'm like, is it just like all the, you know, I mean, there's just, I'm always asking before I jump the gun and just outwardly seek help. I try to find the answers within first, and I urge you to do the same. But if you've tried to do this and you're just like hitting a wall, it could be that you need outside help. So don't be afraid to ask for help, okay, you guys? So that is that. And I don't believe we're going to pull any more cards from that. So I'm going to jump into the Temperance, unless you have another card you want me to put with this one. Okay. Also, Temperance is number 14, and that's also the number 5, and that came up in I think it was in reading too. Okay, so it was in reverse, so let's start there. It says the reverse Temperance card reveals that those things we cling to in times of upheaval are not as reliable as once believed. Examine your personal and interpersonal habits and honestly determine which of those things perpetuate patterns that drain you of your resources, your energy, your compassion, and your creativity. And it's on page 42 and 43. So if that means anything, I kind of, when I saw 42, I saw someone's age, but 42 is also the number 6, and that came up in one of the other readings as well. And 43 is 7, which is about cycles. So you could be at the end of something, and you know, we're all at the end. That's what this whole thing, this is like a reset. This intense fiery energy is only here for this short time because Spirit knows it's intense, but it's an upheaval energy that needs to be there and needs to shake things up. It needs to. Whenever you watch this, it's always timeless, but like this energy is here to shake us up, wake us up, and to get us to like really see things. So the upright says, Temperance signifies self-discipline and strength of character. As the Death card suggests an ever-changing world, Temperance represents the certainty that the most essential parts of ourselves will remain. Despite the challenges and the pain that often accompany change and growth, you may find that your strong personal and interpersonal foundations help keep you grounded. I also like that the stars are like falling down all around their wings, you know? I love that a lot of the entities in these cards are angels. So because we're angels and light workers and healers and deep down believers in magic on this channel, if you're new here, welcome. Welcome back to the rest of you who keep coming back. Thank you to all of you. But I definitely, am feeling like, I keep hearing Elvis because my dad was a huge Elvis fan. I keep hearing it's now or never, like it keeps playing. And some days I'll be like, is this for me? Is this it? But I feel like they keep, that and like Billie Eilish, What Was I Made For? Like, so I'm kind of seeing like the same, I feel like when they play me the music, that's my connection with spirit as an artist and a musician, is like that kind of helps me to align with like where everything and everyone is at. And so I feel like this is, where you guys are as well. So, lean into the healing. Okay, so, oh, another reverse card. Oh, we got the Fool in reverse. Wow. The Fool in reverse. I'm going to put it in front of the Native American because I feel like that's where it wants to go. So let's jump into that. Oh my goodness. This makes, you know what? The Fool came up in one of the other readings and I had a feeling they were going to make an appearance today. Okay, so the reverse of the Fool says, what are the areas in your life where you are reticent for no reason? In this position, the Fool cautions us to check our stubborn, petulant side. Take responsibility for your own missteps. Uncharted territory can be anxiety-inducing, but do not let this fear make you afraid of new opportunities, and don't be afraid of growth. Yeah, I feel like, a huge takeaway from this message for everybody, because I mean, I feel like there was a lot of readings within readings within readings in these readings today. Yours is no exception. But I feel like the takeaway really of this is that so many of us are like, kind of like, see how he's like holding his, like, he almost looks like he's like rocking back and forth, like, mommy, like, where's my home? Where do I belong? And I know, right? Is like these like outlandish like energies and entities. We are here as the healers and the teachers, and so we have to go through it first, and it feels very isolating and it feels very lonely. And Temperance in the Sagittarius energy is, it's also about having a positive outlook on things and knowing that you're not alone. Like, whenever I start to feel lonely, really lonely, where I'm like, I just need to hug someone, spirit will come in and I'll just feel like, I'll say I need a hug, and my whole body just like tingles, and like, oh, it's almost like I can feel them on my legs, on my arms, on my head, like all the ancestors like touching me, hugging me, and they're like, we're right here, we're right here, we're right here. Like, you are not alone. And I feel like that's what spirit wants you to know, is that you are not alone, and you've never been alone, and you'll never be alone. Even like when I'm, having, wink, wink, fun time with myself, I'm always kind of like, hey, can you guys leave so I can have my time alone? It's like, oh yeah, sure. But otherwise it's like, yeah, I can really feel them here. But I feel like for some of you, it's time to ask for that help. Maybe you've shut out your spiritual connection, but it's a part of you. It's never going to stop. And it could be something, reading 1 and reading 2 are really powerful to connect to like what's holding you back. So, I would definitely check those out. So on the upright position, it says the Fool indicates one who is ready to take the first steps in a new direction and explore previously untapped potential. There is a deep naivete about the Fool, representing someone who lives in the moment and looks ahead only to positive possibilities. But the impetus to move forward is only done on a whim, plain and simple. The optimistic nature of this card is buoyed by a bit of good luck and a predilection for adventure. Right? So they're saying like, you can be the Fool, you can be like this magical, speaking of numbers, right? The Fool's a 0 because the Fool is infinity. The Fool has no beginning and no end, So when the Fool comes into your deck or into your reading, I've been going straight for hours. Hang in there with me, reading 3. But it's like 0 doesn't have a beginning or an end. It's endless. It's endless. We are endless as souls. We are endless. You are endless. But we've been told, that isolation and loneliness and all this, like, people, depression is living in the past, anxiety is living in the future, yet people are, the main thing is like, if everybody can just live in the present, we're good. Like if everybody can just live in the now, then we're good to go. you know, but it's hard to do when we're breaking away from a system that we've been going through for years and years and years and years and years. So give yourself, you know, I heard from Spirit, like, cut yourself a little slack. You know, you're going through what everybody else is going through, you know. But if there's no Sagittarius, and I mean, we all have Sagittarius in our chart, but I'm saying, like, if you're not feeling heavy Sagittarius energy within yourself, or if there's no heavy Sagittarius energy within yourself, or like others that are, you know, pinging for you in this reading, then it's really just to work with the temperance energy. So research more on the temperance energy. I have tons of books and stuff on it that I could probably read right now, but I'm not getting that from them. On the bottom of the card, though, is interesting because it is the Wheel of Fate, which is also like the Wheel of Fortune, but it was in reverse. So it could even be like, you know, it's almost like they're in like the incubus stage, like, right, like they're ready to be birthed. So it could be like, you know, you need to work through a few different things first before you can like step back out on your journey. For now, it's like, because I've been kind of feeling like this energy was, because when we set it up, we had the past life, you know, deck box here, and then we had the Star Spinner Tarot, you know, box here, and I kind of felt like it was like before and after kind of energy. And so interesting that this one came after this one, but I feel like this is kind of like you in the past, and now this needs to be you right here, right? Because look at, they're pouring into their own cup. They're strong. They got this cool hairdo going on, right? Like, got this saucy outfit, like all is well. And it's like, it's almost like this is like the young version of us. And this is what we are. This is what we truly are. But we just have to get past this like old, you know, these are over to the side. You know, we'd have to get past these old like thought processes and old energy. It's going to take a minute. We've been, for thousands of years, we've been told lies, even to religion. Yesterday I was working on something, and somebody commented on one of my channels, and they said, "You're not a prophet." And I was like, it was shocking when I first like saw it, because I don't get those very often, but when they do, when the negative ones come in, it's like, it's always shocking at first, because it immediately will go to like, you know, I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not, you know, here comes in that father wound again, that mother wound, that, you know. So, and they are just like the mirrors and the triggers, like that kind of like help us to like see things. It's when we're not triggered by something anymore that we realize that we've really fully gained access to that energy, and we're not emotionally driven by that pain and suffering anymore. And that is when we've really like stepped into it. You know what I mean? That's when we've really like walked into our path. So allow that time to evolve. Allow your divine masculine and divine feminine to catch up. I think it's interesting too that like at the end, like we've got the divine feminine over here, and it really is, we need the love to lead the way right now. It's like the aggression, the anger, a lot of this stuff from the past wants to, you know, be like, this is what it really is, but it's not. It's really not. So it's going to take a minute. Allow yourself, you know, to walk into it. And like we said, you know, number 14, temperance, is really the number 5. So you're going from this infinity energy of being timeless, you know, understanding that you're a soul that never dies, but yet at the same time, the other thing that happens here is that even when people like us, that like, we know we never die, like we know that we'll just like go back into a frog or a human or a pinball machine in another galaxy, whatever it is, you know, we know and understand that. But at the same time, it's still having the awareness and the connection of like, oh shit, but like, you know, as children and babies, like we're little sponges. So we take on everything from our environment, but we chose that environment. We chose that environment to grow and evolve in. And, you know, the spiritual growth is, you know, like they've said for years, you know, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that's the truth, because the destination is we're dead. So, right, like at the end, we're dead. So it's really about the journey. It's like, how long, you know, we're meant to be here, we don't know. So every day really is precious, because we don't know. My mom always said, like, you know, make sure you love this day and take care of it, because, you know, the next day is not promised to us. We just don't know. And my mom was filled with like all of these like, you know, great like little isms, you know, over the years. But at the end, it was weird, because like when my mom finally died, I thought, wow, I wonder if she was thinking, those things towards the end, like, which day is it going to be, because she was sick and I don't know, we lost contact. But, it's like, it makes you wonder. It's like, how connected are we? How divinely, it's like we are, but I'm saying, like, how much is our awareness? Sorry, something just flew by the window and it caught my eye. But there's an awareness and a connection that we have, with the divine, and we just have to get quiet enough to listen to it and know that it's there. So I feel like for you, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to really fully pull yourself out of the muggle energy, the third dimensional reality, and witness your divinity and witness your greatness and witness your awesomeness through the eyes of temperance and through the eyes of the fool. Do we have any more cards? Ooh, this one pulled right off the top. Okay, and it's upright. So we have the King of Cups. Oh, I feel like this is your success right here. It's almost like I feel like the Fool's going to get you there. Temperance is going to help you get there. And your King of Cups is right around the corner. All right, I'm going to shadow it so you guys can see it. Let's see what the King of Cups has to say today. I can't tell if a person went past my window or if it was a bird, because my landlord just kind of shows up here and there. And also my partner was going to come by this week to work on the yard. Oh no, it's the Knight of Chalices, not the King. It's the KN, and it always makes me think King, but no, it's the Knight of Chalices. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So it says the Knight of Chalices is representative of emotional awareness. You are in touch with your inner feelings and prone to flights of fancy. Despite the power of fantasies, the Knight is also a reminder to keep yourself from getting swept away by your ideals of romance. Abstract notions must be balanced with action, or else they remain frivolous, passing fancies. It's getting warm in here. Okay, so the reverse says someone has lost control of their emotions. Remember, I was just saying, it's like, right, it's like we get to a point where it's like, how do we, like, in terms of dealing with getting out of this old energy and into the new energy, the easiest way to do that is to pull our emotions out of it. And that's the hardest part, right? Because we were trained, basically, it's like, in one end, it's like, don't be emotional, but then it's like, then you don't get emotional, and then it's going to come out one way or the other. So I kind of feel like, if you've been repressing your emotions, it's like they need to come out somewhere. And also, they're looking down kind of solemn and sad. There's a lot of things coming through. Also, that energy that went by was really intense. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to look outside and see who's there. But okay. Whew. I'm going to open a window. It's like all of a sudden it just got really hot in here. I'm like, I need some fresh air. Someone has lost control of their emotions. The Knight warns of a lack of self-reflection and being prone to moodiness and jealousy. He also refers to something that was initially very appealing, but later turns out to be a ruse. The Knight in reverse is a reality check. A veil of wishful delusion might be lifting, leaving cold disappointment and a much harsher truth. It is a reminder to watch your moody tendencies and be practical when you do not get exactly what you want. It's also on page 89, and I saw that as a year. Hello, Taylor Swift. But it could be, that could be for you guys too. I don't know why, but there's a lot of different things that are coming through right now. But it's basically, this is a card of emotional awareness and to get in touch with your inner feelings. But I'm also hearing, when they talked about the prone flights of fancy, I feel like some of you are making decisions emotionally, and Spirit saying that is the last, like, that is not what you want to do. Because when we make decisions with our emotions, like, especially right now, I said it in one of the other readings, but look in the description box if you didn't see the shorts. But I put out a shorts yesterday because I went through my own, like, crazy stuff. And I feel like, when I woke up in the morning, I felt so good. And I was like, welcome, new moon in Aries. I'm like, thank you, Pisces moon. And like, I felt so good, but it's like, as the day went on, it just like went into something completely different than I thought it was going to be. And And it was like all of a sudden I realized that I was responding with fire. I was responding with anger. I was responding with emotion. And I'm like, I'm an empath. And so for our sensitives and the empaths, you have to remember, like, you can pick up energy from other people and other things. So you have to be really cautious whether you're out in the stores or you're online or even with a group of people that you know and love. You know, somebody can take something the wrong way, and before you know, it's like a blow up and it's like a big fight. And you know, also my eyes are going to this, but I'm not seeing a dagger. I'm seeing like a homemade popsicle, you know, like how you can like fill like a container and like put the tops in. So I don't know who the fuck that was for, but that was very, 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 like, I feel like even if that was for one person, it felt like it needed to be said. But also romanticizing things, right? Like you want it to be better. So you're like, oh, they're just this, or, oh, they're just going through that, or, oh, you know, blah, 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 blah. I did that too. It's like, it's almost like the 7 stages of death. It's like we're all going through the death of like our old world as this new world has rebirthed. And you know, it's like, even though our hearts want to go towards the light and the healing part of it, there's still that side of it that's like, you know, I need, you know, needy baby, greedy baby, you know, Uncle Steve, you know, this coming through again, you know, that kind of energy. And this feels very masculine to me, but at the same time, it could be kind of androgynous. So take it for what it is. I feel like there might be one more. Yeah. Okay. This one is in reverse. So, oh, the King of Chalices. Oh, no, there's the king. Holy shit. There's the king. There's that king. But he was in reverse. So, I don't remember. Was the Knight of Chalices Cups, was that in reverse? I mean, I know we read both, but like, that's kind of interesting. I feel like this one's sticking over here. Okay. Oopsie. This is an intense reading. Okay, so let's go to the King of Chalices in reverse first. Also, my eyes went to the past life deck. Did you? Oh, shit. I just saw love life, baby, unrequited love. And love life is in reverse. So this could be, for some of you, this could have to do with your love life. So because my eyes were like really drawn to that, I'm going to bring it in. I feel like it's meant to come in there. Okay. And the galactic was at the bottom again after I just shuffled. So that's interesting. Oh, and unrequited love is on the other side. Ooh, this could be a twin flame or a soulmate that you're dealing with right now. It didn't come through before, but it came through now. Okay, so the Knight in reverse, it says the king in reverse. Oh my gosh, what is happening? The King in reverse represents emotional abuse and manipulation. He warns of someone in your life who is selfish, temperamental, and vindictive. This individual may be leveraging guilt to get what they want and shifting blame on others when things go wrong. This otherwise well-intentioned person may be struggling to maintain a sense of self, relying heavily on the approval of others, laying the groundwork for potentially toxic relationships. And it's also on page 91. So it could be like 89 and 91. This could be a relationship. This could be your birth years. I mean, we could have people here watching that are 89 and 91 years old. It could happen, but it really feels like that could be that. So that's really interesting. Oh, laying the groundwork for potentially toxic relationships. But the upright says the King of Chalices represents patient, compassionate stewardship. The king is intentional about addressing strong and unruly emotions with great sensitivity and care, and guides you toward emotional maturity and level-headedness in trying times, particularly where a diplomatic and even-handed response is required. Your decisions should be predicated on warmth and generosity. Wow. So this could be like when we were talking from the beginning. Gosh, this reading's been really long. You know, from this Native American and male, female, love life, unrequited love, like this, I kind of feel like it's all coming back to this. And it could be either in this lifetime or it could be from another life. You know, it's going to be different for all of you guys because there's so many. But unrequited love, like she looks really dissed and also sad. I kind of feel like she's a really nice person generally and loves everybody, but there's just that one person in their life that brings that face. You know, I used to say to my partner when we were going through heavy stuff, I'm like, you know, you're the only person that brings out this ugly side of me. I said, literally. I said, I'm not like this with anybody else. I said, what does that say? Like, what does that mean? And I used to, you know, think like all these negative thoughts, but then it took me a long time to realize what it means is that that person is there to stir up those feelings, to stir up those emotions, to get me to look at the mirror, to get me to, you know, deal with those things. Like, you know, so you could have a soulmate and or twin flame who is in your life and they keep rocking the boat because they're meant to rock the boat. They're meant to help you, you know, get through this. But also, if you're in any type of relationship where it's really toxic or like, you know, get out of it. If, especially if it's, you know, even though my father was physically abusive to my mom was verbally abusive to my dad. And I think a lot of it is my mom, you know, in my experience, my mom and my dad and my mom and my stepdad and both of their relationships, you know, it's funny because my mama used to always say, who's the common denominator? And it's like, but looking back on like why my relationships have been so unhealthy is because, you know, my mom was incredibly intelligent and she was with two men who were very intelligent, but they didn't graduate high school. They didn't like have a lot of schooling. They came from abusive alcoholic fathers, you know, and so it's kind of interesting, you know, she came from a father who wasn't an alcoholic, but he was mean and controlling. And so it's like she learned how to manipulate energy and manipulate love to make it work in her favor. And I've been saying this a lot lately, but I've been obsessed with watching House Hunters and that show Location, the British show. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. And so, but it's been so fascinating to watch people in couples, you know, and to watch them like, you know, like those who really love and care about each other and want to make sure that both people are good. And then other people who are like, you know, the woman's like, I'm going to get my way, or the man's like, I'm going to get my way. And it's like, well, this isn't a fucking contest. You're both going to pay for this house and care for this house. And, you know, it's like, this is about two people. You should care about that, how they live and whatever is important. Like you should care about that. So there's also been some real like gross juxtaposition, is that the word I'm looking for, in terms of relationships and the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and our love lives are suffering because of it, with our self-love, with our external, you know, relationships through love. But you know, and it could be for some of us, it could be an indigenous, you know, something like that. This card is like pulling out, look at that, the mother card. I hear you, mama. I felt like a card wanted to go in front of that. So it could be that you're struggling with the mother wound. Like I said at the beginning of this, my father wound came through. And during this whole thing, I've been, you know, vacillating back and forth between my mother and my father wounds, you know, so it's like, we're not out of the woods yet, you know, but we have to work on it. We got to chip away at it a little bit every day. And I'm finding that the masculine side of us is the side that wants to run and flee. And it's the divine feminine that wants to stay and fight. And, you know, we're just going to have to hang on a little bit longer and fight a little bit harder, you know, to bring love to the surface. But like I said, if you're in a relationship that's like really abusive, you know, there are lots of places that would help you to get out of that situation. I would never, ever urge you to stay in any type of abusive situation, whether it's verbal or physical or both. That you can't heal where you're hurt. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely something there. Do you want me to read from the book for either of these cards right now? They said go in order. Okay, so let's start with the mother card first, since it's right there. This card indicates that your mother in this life was also with you in other lifetimes. This is actually a very common occurrence. The mother-child relationship is a significant emotional and physical bond. If you enjoy a healthy and loving relationship with your mother in this lifetime, you are probably drawn together again because of your fondness for one another. However, if your relationship has been challenging, this indicates a need to balance the karma through your forgiveness. It's also on page 69. Your feelings about your mother are directly related to your ability to manifest abundance, as mother energy is all about receiving. If you have blocks with your mother, you have most likely developed control issues that prevent you from receiving help from others or from the universe. So this card asks you to do more personal work concerning your mother. At this time, you may wish to add past life regression as an adjunct to other therapeutic methods. Also, it's interesting because Native Americans next. And 7, it's on 70, the second page, and 7's are cycles. So very powerful. Okay, let's look at love life. This card comes to you as an indication that your love life is affected by one or more previous lifetimes. Most likely you had a painful experience back then that caused you to be overly cautious. In such cases, working on yourself can help you reopen your beautiful, loving heart. And that way you can love and be loved again. It's also likely that this card comes to you as validation that the man or woman you're romantically interested in was also a prominent person in your past life. That's what I was saying, soulmates and twin flames. This individual may not necessarily have been a romantic partner at that time, but your inclination to connect romantically in this life is definitely part of a greater plan. In my experience, twin flames are always romantic, but soulmates are not. Like, my mom and I are definitely soulmates, right? But she wasn't a romantic interest to me, and I don't think she was ever a romantic interest in another life, you know? But my father, on the other hand, I always felt like he was more like my buddy, or like when we'd both be intoxicated, it felt more like I always felt like a sex vibe from my dad, you know, kind of creepy, like when Trump would talk about his daughter and how hot she was and all that, and people are like, oh, that's your daughter, dude. You know, it's like, but some people, like, the boundaries are blurred and they don't remember, they don't want to remember. But when I started doing past life regression therapy myself many years ago, I felt this connection with my father. And then my dad, like, showed me in the dream lodge, like after he died, we had this really cute bonding moment of when I was a little girl, and it was so precious. And then, like, once I, like, worked through that, then, like, he showed me later on that we also had a sexual connection, which some people's like, oh, that's so creepy. It's like, yes and no, but, you know, he wasn't really like my father, though. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he was, but he wasn't. I mean, he was my biological father, but that was meant to be because I needed to pass, you know, he needed to pass on that to me, you know, the imprint of his, you know, whatever. I believe that we're always, like, I feel like we're a makeup of all of our ancestors, of ourselves. Oh, my phone's about to die. Hold on. I don't think I can. Hold on, you guys. Okay, this is so funny, but they're having me wrap it up this way, which totally makes sense because we're almost done anyway. Oh, sorry. But the reason why I'm saying it like this, and I had to take you off there, is my long cord that I used to be able to have on my charger burned out, and now the cord to my battery packs burned out in, like, last night. So the only way for me to connect this is, like, on this. It's a very short cord and it can only be on the floor. So I'm so sorry. So we'll just do it as, like, this way. But we'll just wrap it up like this. So I'm going to grab your cards. Hold on. And if for any reason, you guys, if for any reason this it, like, dies and my phone dies, it was meant to happen. So, you know, just, like, take it for what it is. I just want to see if they want me to, and if that's the case, thank you for being here. I love you, and all of my information is in the description box if you'd like to work with me or contribute to the work that I do on this channel monetarily. And if that's not in your wheelhouse, always remember that prayer is free. And we'll see you at the next reading. If it goes out, we'll see. I don't know, because I don't know how much it's going to try and drain my phone, but I just want to see if they want me to pull any more cards before we go. Do we have any more cards for reading 3 before we head out? Do we have any more cards for reading 3 before we head out? No, but I do kind of feel like they want me to do, like, kind of like a summation thing, like if I was a lawyer and this was, like, my, like, final thing to the judge. So they're having me shuffle all the cards that you had together. Oh, and they want me to put in all the cards from the other readings. They're having me pull in too, at least right now. Okay, so, and then they're gonna have me put them in, like, a certain order. Okay. Let's see if my phone will show me, like, okay, it's at 5%. That's good. That means it will probably, okay. I almost feel like they want me to do these separately. I'm going to do these separately. It's like they're having me take out the other cards. They're just having me do the past life in order. Okay. So we have finances, knighthood, male, female, mother, trees, love life, food and hunger, and Native American. So I feel like in order for you to like get your finances and like the rest of your life like back in order, so to speak, you need to get to the roots. You need to get to your roots. You need to go and like really sit with spirit and be like, okay, what am I missing? What do I need? What, you know what I mean? Like go into what do you call it? Meditation. Go for a nature walk. You know, the trees are showing me like to go for a nature walk, go into the woods. And, you know, and for some of you, if your parents are still alive, this might be something for you to work with them as well. I mean, I've had times where I'm like really confused about something and I would call my mom and she'd be like, oh, that's so interesting because when you were younger, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't remember that. And she's like, oh yeah, that happened, you know? So sometimes it's good to talk to people from our past, and especially like our siblings, our aunts and uncles, parents, grandparents, and all that, because they, especially obviously the older ones, right? Because they remember things. They know, like when we're young, and a lot of times when we're going through trauma, we can block things out. But also be mindful of that, because the flip side of that is if you are surrounded by a bunch of muggles and you're like the light worker in your family. I mean, I've had situations why I was on medications for so many years is that I would see, feel, and hear things that like other people didn't see, feel, and hear. And I would say like, well, I see it. And like, you know, and then my family would be like, yeah, but we all, like, you're the only one that sees it. You know, so I really thought I was fucking crazy, like really crazy for a really long time. So keep that in mind too, that, you know, just because they are your family and whatever, it's like, it doesn't mean that they automatically like are the end all be all. You know what I mean? Like they don't always know exactly, you know, because they're looking at it through their muggle eyes and their level of consciousness. So don't second guess yourself. If your intuition tells you that you know, did see something or hear something or feel something from somebody, go with your gut. Like your gut is never going to steer you wrong, but other people are going to help. They're going to try and like get you to see it from their vantage point or from their point of view. Do you know what I'm saying? So work with, you know, the divine feminine and masculine. And the knighthood is awesome, but just remember that it's like you don't want to give so much that you're like, you know, you're not receiving. You need to receive too. Take a look at your love life, whether you're in a relationship or not. There could be something there that is also part of like what you're not seeing or what you're not getting. And the food and hunger, it's really powerful. I feel like you guys are really meant to go look at group reading too. Let's see if they want me to put these in order. Okay, so then they had me put the, so the Fool. So this is the order: the Fool, the Knight of Cups, the King of Cups, and then Temperance. So, you know, look at it in that order of your energy. Like either way, like if you remember in the Temperance card, like they're good, man. They're standing strong. They're standing tall. They're pouring into their own cup. You're going to end up like this. It's just you need to get through all of this before you can get to that. All right, you guys, let me see if Spirit has any more messages or we have any more energies or entities coming through. Do we have any other energies that want to speak? This Uncle Steve person, I almost feel like I'm seeing glasses. And again, like I had an Uncle Steve with glasses. Is this any of my Uncle Steves? Okay. I feel like for some of you, this person, and maybe it's not Uncle Steve, but there's somebody here that has glasses and it feels like a male. And my eyes are going to the finances card. I feel like somebody may have put your family in financial jeopardy and they just feel really, they're very sorry. I feel like they're like the Fool energy, but like in like the Fool energy, not the Fool energy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the Fool, the way that we, like the world sees somebody as like, you're a fool, you're a buffoon. I feel like that's the way they were looked at, but they really did try. They really did try to, I feel like they gambled with a family inheritance or fortune or something. I feel like, or maybe they were more like the Knight. And I feel like they gambled with your family's fortune or something and lost it all. And this even feels like, and this could be multiple stories in one story, because I saw somebody who, like, it's like Jack and the Beanstalk, right? Like, where like he takes the one, he's like, they're like, why would you take all of our money for that one bean? He's like, it's going to be good. Trust me, trust me, trust me. I kind of feel like it was like that. But then I also feel like there's somebody else that's trying to come forward that lost like a family fortune on like stocks or something. Like they invested money in something that was really they didn't think it was a risk. This kind of feels like the Great Depression era, or maybe before that. It could have even been the turn of the century, from the 1800s to the 1900s, but this feels like a really huge loss of old money. And maybe that's why you guys have had like this co-collective consciousness of lack and poverty consciousness for the last 100 years. But there was a time in your family where money was never an object. Like money was, you guys were, you were good. And I'm hearing like, it's almost like the ancestors are like trying to get you to help bring that back, because it's just a form of energy, and you have the capacity to make those changes and to help your family. And it could even just be for some of you that it's like literally like you need your family is like, your future of your family is dependent on the moves that you make now, if that makes any sense. And it's not in a form of pressure, it's just in a form of awareness, if that makes sense. Okay. Do we have any more energies or entities that want to come through? Okay. Hold on, give me a second. I'm feeling a lot of masculine energy. Yeah, I'm feeling an alcoholic. I'm feeling a brother. I feel like they died of alcoholism, and they really tried to quit drinking. This could even be the same person. It's almost like they're not really showing themselves 100%, but I can like, I'm going by energy now. So, let's see. Yeah, I just keep hearing, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And I feel like they're struggling moving forward. So if this resonated with you, send them some love. Well, I'll send them some love, to help them cross over. Because I'm telling them right now, like, that's good. Like, you said your piece. Like, this will, I always look at it like this. I'm a medium, right? So like, whether this is viewed now or viewed 10 years from now somewhere, like, somebody will hear this. But I just want this energy and this entity to know that they can cross over now, like that they don't have to carry this burden for the family or the lineage anymore, and that you are going to step in and be the lineage breaker. I feel like every person who ever comes to my channel, we're the lineage breakers. We're the ones that are going to right the wrongs, Like, we're not born of, like, abundance comes in all forms is what they're showing me. Abundance comes in all forms, and they want you to remember that abundance comes in all forms. And a lack it's like that Dolly Parton song, right? Like, you're only as poor as you choose to be, because if you have a roof over your head and a warm bed to sleep in and food in your belly, you're richer than a lot of people on this planet, a huge portion. So remember that. And they kind of wanted you to remember that. But I'm hearing like getting out of the poverty consciousness is a big one. Do we have any more energies or entities that want to speak before we go? Yeah, I feel like that. No, they're gone now. Good. Yay. We love you. We wish you well on your journey. It's all good. They just came here to speak their piece. And sometimes they've already crossed over, but when they come back over, the energy feels like they're still here. You know what I mean? Because that's the energy that's still surrounding your family and yourself and your blood and bone and your energy field. Because sometimes, our families, we can suffer such great sadness and depression, and we don't even like know where it is or why it is or where it's coming from. Or okay, I think that's it. Okay, do we have any more messages from the cards before we go? Do we have any more channeling? Any more ancestors want to come through and speak before we leave right now? Nope, that's it, you guys. All right, thank you so much for being here. All right, I already told you all my stuff. And if you want to donate or if you want to work with me, email me. You just highlight magicalmedium@gmail.com in the description box. Highlight it, copy and paste it, put it into your browser. I work on a sliding scale. Never be afraid to ask, never be afraid to ask. Don't just take fear out of the equation. But if you really need help one-on-one and the individual is you need something a little more in-depth, I can help you with that. Okay, whether it's one-on-one or recorded video or whatever it is, reach out. And this goes without saying, but I feel like I need to say it again. As much as I want to be friends with everybody, I don't, sometimes people reach out and I'm like, do you want to do a reading? They're like, no, I just thought we could be friends. And I'm like, well, I love that and it's awesome, but like I'm so overwhelmed right now. Like, so it doesn't mean that we won't become friends at some point, but Really just email if you're looking to do some work with me. You know, and you know, because I've had recently people have been like reaching out through my email. They just want to go out on a date, and I'm just like, where do you even live? Like, I'm in Washington. Like, where are you? You know, and it's very sweet and it's very kind, but it's, you know, it's like this is my job here. You know what I mean? And it's like one of those things where people get um attached to their therapist, you know, and they want to date them or whatever. And it's like, no, you're just attached to that, like whatever that is. But anyway, all right, you guys, you get it, you get it, you get it. I love you. Until next time, take good care of yourself and each other. And I will put some stuff in the description box too for some things that I've been going through as well on my podcasts. I talked about that. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm really exhausted. I've been doing this for like almost 4 hours now altogether. So, yeah, until next time. I'll see you. I love you. Blessed be. Oh.